Cool. This seems fun. I can't wait to do more of this. As if it wasn't enough to do a post-game over on 105.7 The Fan yesterday. This seems like a fun way to spend 2 hours on a Monday morning. Hey, at least the weather stinks. We got that going for us. At least there's that. Hi. Happy Monday morning. Happy Monday morning. Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. He's television's own Griffin Bass. He's Masson's star Griffin Bass.
My phone was blowing up.
Well, I understand why.
After that.
I looked up. I said, "That's Griffin." Look at him standing there like an idiot. One of you boys pointed out to me, tiny hands. I don't know what that's all about. Tiny hands.
So I watched it back, and because me and my brother were like, "Why do my hands look like that?" And then we realized there was a person in front of us who had their hands. Their hands were straight up like this. So it looked like it was mine because my hands were in my pockets.
I don't know.
So it looked like they were mine.
I think you might just have tiny hands, pal. I think it might be a Donald Trump situation we got going on.
No. Not that.
Griffin was up in New York this weekend, so he got to witness nothing, no history.
Got to see the Orioles pitch Aaron Judge really well.
Yeah, well, I mean, not if you ask the people in New York, they don't agree. They're mad about it. And obviously, I mean, there's not going to be. I don't know that we'll have time to talk about it because something else happened. And we have to deal with that. Hey, coming up in a bit, we're going to catch up with Evan Washburn. He was on the scene. What time is everything today? He's at 10:20?
Yes. 10:30.
10:30. Then Brandon Noble's at 11, and Dan Wilcox is at 11:30.
Correct.
All right, so Evan Washburn, of course, was there for CBS. Brandon Noble was working the national radio broadcast of the Ravens game yesterday, and Dan Wilcox is just our friend and the host of the Believe in Ravens podcast with Bo Smolka. So we will get all of them to share their opinions. We will get to slaps of the helmet as well this morning to start putting your list together. Of course, as always, 5 Ravens, 2 must be offensive players, 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be anyone you like, including a coach. And I got a funny feeling that a few people are going to choose a coach. And that, to me, as today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, which is the best place to watch and bet on all of the games. And it's also the place where you can go and put a $25 Super Bowl futures bet down and then register that bet to win a pair of tickets to the Super Bowl. FanDuel.com/SBNAZ to find out more. The frustrating part for me is that we are obsessed, of course, with what happened at the end of the game yesterday. Whereas the reality of where the Ravens are after 4 games is far bigger than one decision that was made. Throw me a pen, by the way, if you would, please, Griffin. The reality of where the Ravens find themselves has so much more to do with the totality of yesterday's game than it does with one 4th down decision that was made in yesterday's game. Let's get it out of the way at the top. If you listen to postgame on 105.7 The Fan, you know how I feel, and I'm writing about it today. I'll go ahead and do the bit. I'll give away my column once again. My column today at PressBoxOnline.com will explain why directly there's no ambiguity about this. And I get it, most people are yelling about John Harbaugh going for it, but most people are really mad that the Ravens failed. They don't really know why they're mad about the decision. They just know they're mad that the Ravens failed, so they know they have to be mad about it. There's not a lot of intelligent conversation that has been disseminated. Some people have tried to, suggest esoteric reasons why they disagreed with the decision. Like I got that from people yesterday. Well, it's about the message that you're sending to your team, or it's about, it's all nonsense. The analytics didn't say for the Ravens to go for it on 4th down. Next Gen Stats shared it out. The analytics were negligible. They suggested it was a 1.7% greater chance of victory by going for it on 4th down. What that means is it's a wash. In these, bizarro scenarios, there's no actual difference when you're talking about 1.7%. If we were running algorithms, if we were running scenarios like, hey, Griffin, how many more listeners might we have if we do this one thing or do this other thing? And we run a bunch of numbers, and they say, well, there's a There's a 1.7% chance of it being better if we do it this way, but we would call that as a wash. We would say it's the same. It's essentially the same. The analytics did not in any way demand that the Ravens go for it on 4th and goal. And so to hide behind analytics is somewhat cowardly. And I've really kind of, I don't want to call John Harbaugh a coward because I don't think he's a coward. But to just try to say, hey, the analytics said to go for it, there are times where it is that simple. There are a lot of people who still don't understand the thought process behind you're down by 14, you score a touchdown, and you go for 2. A lot of people still disagree with that. They don't get it. Gary Stein and I got into a vicious fight a year ago about when you go for... Remember, the Ravens were down by 15 in a game last year and decided to go for 2 on the first touchdown instead of on the second touchdown. And everybody in town's like, no, you kick the extra point, so you keep it a one-possession game. Well, that only matters, of course, if you convert the 2-point conversion the second time. Was this the Packers game? What game was it where this occurred? I can't remember which game it was. It was a game last year where this played out. And everybody's like, oh, you can't. Why would you go for it on 2 the first time? You need to make sure you keep it a one-possession game. And I kept saying that it's only a one-possession game if you convert the 2-point conversion, and you're not more likely to convert the 2-point conversion at the end of the game than you are earlier in the game. But what you can do earlier in the game is figure out if you're going to get the 2 or not, because if you don't get the 2, you need to come up with another path to victory. You might have to kick an onside kick, something like that, in order to try to win a game. That's analytics. That is an analytical decision. Plain and simple, you are better off knowing earlier in the game what it is that you have to do in order to win than you are to hide behind the idea of, let's just keep it a one-possession game, get to the final play of the game, fail on a 2-point conversion the way the Buccaneers did against the Packers last week, and then the game is just over. Analytically, you are better off knowing ahead of time whether or not you got the 2-point conversion and what decisions you need to make because of it. That's pure analytics. This wasn't analytics. The analytics said, shrug emoji. The analytics said, you can do whatever you want here. There's really no difference. You go for it. It's a 4th and goal from the 2. You should be able to convert that. So if you do, you're going to score a touchdown, and that's going to be helpful. But if you don't convert it, it's tie game, and they got a chance to go down and score. Ultimately, there's 2 things that happen. One, I would have preferred if John Harbaugh could just be honest. It's not about analytics. It's about the way you feel about your defense. Now, that's a little weird, too. It's a little weird that the Ravens lost all faith in their defense yesterday, considering the number of times the Ravens either got turnovers or 3-and-outs during the course of that game. The Ravens didn't get bludgeoned yesterday. I don't know what world we're pretending like the Ravens got bludgeoned yesterday. In fact, literally, the last time they had been on the field beforehand, they forced a very quick punt. I don't know how we've created a scenario where the Ravens got bludgeoned defensively yesterday. They did not. They got bludgeoned on that last drive. But for the totality of the game, they held their own against a very good offense. Conditions might have played a factor in that. So I'm confused as to why we're coming to the idea that you couldn't put the defense back out there. John Harbaugh's best argument that he made was the 4-down factor. And that's relevant. It's really tough to stop a team once they know they've got 4 tries to get 10 yards. It becomes very difficult to do. It's a good argument. It's not enough of a compelling argument that they should have gone for it, but it's a good argument, which is we're talking about the Bills' offense and them knowing that they've got 4 downs in order to try to convert. Of course, if they're down by 3, once they get into field goal range, they're going to stop going for it on 4th down because they merely need to tie the game. It would be reckless for them, trailing by 3 points, even if they had used 4th down in order to get into field goal range, to still go for it on, say, 4th and 6 if they got all the way down to the Ravens' 22-yard line versus just kicking a field goal. there's something to be said for the way that John Harbaugh explained it, but it's not justifiable. In the end, the picture, the reason why the decision was problematic, and the reason why, not the singular reason why, but part of the reason why a lot of this result falls on the coaches is because in that moment, you have to calculate the risk. When the Ravens decided to go for it on 4th and 1 from their own 34-yard line, that was a bonkers risk, right? That's crazy. If they don't convert that, they're giving the Bills the ball in a tie game already in scoring position. That's nuts. But there's still an entire quarter to play. And so in calculating the risk, they're saying, hey, look, even if this fails, we got a lot of time. There's an eternity to try to fix this. We think we'll get it. Because all they need to do is, not even 4th and 1, it was 4th and an inch, right? I mean, all they needed to do was line up, have Lamar Jackson fall down, and they're going to convert. We think we'll get it. But if we don't, there's so much time left. All the time in the world for us to try to convert this thing. Or not convert this thing, to fix this. You calculate the risk that way. And I understand the decision that was made. I do. I understand right then. It doesn't forgive them for trying to challenge a spot. Yeah. How long have we been doing this? Spot challenges don't get overturned. It has to be so overwhelming. And I get it. I think there's a chance that maybe Lamar Jackson did stretch out before he went out of bounds. But there was nothing in that replay at all that you saw that said definitively this will overcome the difficulty of getting a spot challenge overturned, which never happens in the NFL. Ever. You never overturn spot challenges. You're just mad because you think he got it, and you're pissing away a timeout in the process. And I think he might have too, by the way. I really do. But you're never, ever, ever getting spot challenges overturned. And we know that. It's the first thing that I think all of us said in that moment. Spot challenges don't get reversed. They never get reversed. So that was reckless. But the decision to go for it on 4th down was understandable because of how much time was left in the game. Going for it on 4th and goal, there were 4 minutes left in the game. And if you failed, you presented the opportunity for the Bills to do exactly what they did, which is not just to score, but to score and kill the clock in the process. And that's why it's inexcusable. You cannot give your opponent the opportunity to kill the clock. This is the NFL in 2022, man. This is how defense works. You're playing the clock as much as you're playing anything else. You see the AFC divisional round a year ago? Hell, the Saints got the ball back. And the Saints don't even have an offense. They don't have a quarterback. They didn't have a quarterback, running back, or wide receiver yesterday. And they still managed to get another game-tying field goal look when they got the ball back with 13 seconds left. This is the NFL. The clock is the thing. In that moment, you presented the opportunity for the Bills to go put a drive together and start working the clock. You know what a team can't do if they're down by 3 points? Work the clock. You know why? Because they can't assume a touchdown. They have to try to push for a touchdown. Because even if you're on the 1 yard line, you can't assume that you can just punch it in whenever you want to. Imagine the Bills trying to bleed the clock, right? And get down to the 1 yard line and be like, well, we'll just call a timeout with 4 seconds left and then we'll run a play. And then they get stuffed or they fumble the snap on the play and then they lose the game because they were trying to play the clock. You can't do that. That's not how football works. Yes, The argument from some that the Bills were going to score a touchdown because you think the Ravens were getting bludgeoned anyway. I don't know where it came from. It was aided by a BS roughing the passer call. But even if you feel that way, they couldn't kill the rest of the clock in the process. Unless it just sort of happened organically, like strangely. They couldn't attempt to kill the clock. If they score a touchdown, they score a touchdown. But they score a touchdown with a minute left. And you get the last chance to go down and make the final statement in the game. Or you get the stop that you allegedly think you could have gotten, and you have the lead, and you win the football game. The clock is the reason. It's inexcusable, the decision that the Ravens made. It cannot be hidden behind analytics. There is not an analytical argument for it. If you haven't seen the Next Gen Stats thing, just, Griffin, find it and tweet it. I mean, my buddy, I'm pretty sure my buddy Chris Pica tweeted out last night. It's 1.7%. You can just tweet and say, this is what Glenn's referring to. 1.7%. is the difference. There is no analytical argument. That is a wash. That is negligible. That is not how leaders make decisions. I mean, unless we're talking about the difference between 1.7% and 0. Like if in one scenario you've got a 0% chance and in another you've got a 1.7% chance, then you say, well, we'll take the one with the 1.7% chance. But otherwise, when you're looking at statistically at a difference of 1.7%, it's a wash. You have to make the decision. You can't hide behind analytics. There's no analytical argument for what the Ravens did. Their coaching let them down. And they might have lost the game anyway. And it wasn't just that. You throw in the fact that, yes, that it was an inexcusable challenge. You know spot challenges don't get overturned in the NFL. You know that. You're mad. And that's the part that I worry about, and I've worried about for a long time with the Ravens, is it feels like a lot of times their decisions are based in emotion or are based in frustration. That, for example, the decision to go for it on fourth down maybe had more to do with how frustrated they were about the entirety of the second half and how badly they wanted to get a touchdown than it had to do with anything else. Because, again, there's no analytical argument for it. I worry that that's the way the Ravens make their decisions sometimes, and that they have for years. I worry that the decision to throw the challenge flag on a spot foul is just because they were pissed off about the fact that he was spotted short. They were angry about it. They were emotional about it because there was nothing that we saw that said that this would overcome how difficult it is to get a spot challenge overturned. We saw nothing in that replay. And they'd apparently already decided to go for it anyway. Now, someone might argue that that decision was made because, hell, they were going to take a timeout anyway to talk about what they were going to do on fourth down. So, hell, if we're going to take a timeout, we might as well throw the challenge flag. Like, that's the best argument that you can make in that moment. But timeouts are too important, particularly in the second half. I mean, even in the first half, they should be more important than the way the Ravens pissed them away. A delay of game on a field goal yesterday. This stuff can't happen. Look, if you're here today trying to fire John Harbaugh, I'm sorry, you're unserious. It's not even worth I don't even like the idea of bringing it up. It's not worth it. You're just being nonsensical for the sake of being nonsensical. I mean, hug somebody today. Touch grass, as my friend Rita likes to say. Like, get yourself back into the world of reality. There ain't a thing wrong with criticizing John Harbaugh for yesterday's game. He had a wretched day. Is he alone the reason why the Ravens lost the football game? No, not at all. The Ravens have bigger problems. A lot of players were conspired to help the Ravens lose the football game yesterday. Even Lamar Jackson wasn't great yesterday. Certainly not the standard of what we had seen for the first 3 weeks. But even by a normal standard, he was, okay yesterday. Nothing was, in a weird way, it was kind of silly that the Ravens were in position to try to win the football game yesterday because we might have struggled doing pats on the ass. Like, I guess the guys that were responsible for the turnovers in the first half and, I don't know, maybe Justice Hill? Like, I don't know what we would have done for pats on the ass because it wasn't a particularly well-played game either. There were a lot of things that conspired, but the Ravens, frankly, aren't good enough to overcome the coaching failures. They're not. Not yet. Maybe if they get fully healthy, they might be at some point. I don't know, but at the moment, they're not good enough to be able to overcome coaching on top of everything else, conspiring against them. Again, separating from all of you that want to jump off a ledge, and I get it. It sucks for the Ravens to have lost 2 games in as many tries where they had 3 possession advantages at home. I mean, it's insane to throw that out there. And it does make us start saying and thinking dumb things. Wanting to fire somebody. That's what happens. But again, my obligation, my responsibility is to come back to reality. Stop it. Get a hold of yourself. That's not how this works. If you don't like John Harbaugh, like Ken Zales, you don't like John Harbaugh. That's your cross to bear, man. I don't know what to tell you. But the idea that John Harbaugh is going to get fired, stop it. Settle down. If they lose the rest of their games, we'll talk about it. They're 2-2. And they were right in it with the best team arguably in the AFC yesterday. Stop. There's nothing wrong with saying John Harbaugh conspired to help them lose that football game yesterday. He did. He failed. Plain and simple. John Harbaugh failed yesterday. This isn't an opinion. This isn't I don't like John Harbaugh. I happen to be someone who thinks John Harbaugh's a hell of a football coach. I mean, I think that because I see his record. Like, it's not really an opinion-based thing. It's more like the dude wins a lot. But yesterday, he stunk. Yesterday was bad. And it was bad all over. But it wasn't just bad from John Harbaugh. It was bad from basically everyone. I mean, other than Justin Tucker. It was bad all over. It's bad roster construction. It's bad on the injury front. It's bad the play on the field. And it's bad the coaching. All of it. And yet they still only lost by 3 points to the Buffalo Bills. NFL's a crazy league, man. It's a crazy league. I don't know what the Ravens are 4 weeks into the season. I'm struggling with that. I really am. I'm truly struggling with, is this a team that if they get their pieces back is a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Or is there no way of getting around if you're a team, no matter what's going on, that blows 21 and 17-point leads at home in back-to-back games, you're just not a good football team. There's no way that a good football team can do that. They're both fair arguments. I don't know which one is the answer. We can't possibly, right? I'm very nervous about Rashad Bateman and wish somebody would start giving me some information about Rashad Bateman. I can't believe John Harbaugh was just utterly dismissive. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look at it. Are you saying there's a world in which Rashad Bateman could have been on the field and wasn't? Like, what in the hell is going on there? Then there's this weird video of, like, somebody saying he was in a walking boot afterwards, but, like, it's not a viable source, so, like, you can't accuse them of making it up or doctoring something because, why would somebody do that? But at the same time, this is the internet, and somebody would do that. I'm very nervous about that. I'm a little on edge. I don't know what to make of the Rashad Bateman thing. It's very weird. But there is a possibility the Ravens get their pieces back, and they are a better football team, and they are the type of team that can finish off games in which they get 21 or 17-point leads. It sucks because we want our answers. We always want our dessert without having to eat our dinner. We are children. I don't want to have to keep waiting to find out what the Ravens are. I want to know now, are they a team that can win a Super Bowl or not? But we're going to have to wait. We're not going to get the answer today, and that's the frustrating part. And so we're going to overreact to the most recent thing that we saw, and we're going to scream and piss and moan and bitch and yell and try to fire people and act like it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the franchise. I get it. It sucks. And if you've gone to these 2 games, it sucks even more. Like, my God. Like, good, the Ravens are back, and these are the first 2 games you get to go to all season? Jesus, yikes. But I'm not. You can't. You can't get me to say that definitively this is who the Ravens are. But we'll talk to a bunch of people that are, I think, all more intelligent than I am during the course of the morning, and we'll see how they feel about it as we discuss it with them. Today's show is also brought to you by, this one's brought to you by Glory Days Grill, where the Oktoberfest menu is available. It's delicious. The chicken schnitzel. Did I say schnitzel? Is that what I just said?
I
it
guess.
sounded like it coming out. The chicken schnitzel, of course. I don't know what that was. The Bavarian burger on the pretzel bun.
You got the point across.
Brewer's sausage platter, Brewer's sausage sandwich, the slam dunk pretzels, the cheddar ale soup, all delicious. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. Evan Washburn worked the game for CBS yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on a debacle for the Baltimore Ravens. It's next. Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens tight end Mark Andrews' path to NFL stardom, from his late decision to play the sport full-time through having to overcome type 1 diabetes and more. Also, inside, we introduce you to football players at Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State. And we give you everything you need to know for betting football this season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of demos, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
I'm so confused. First of all, quickly, unfortunately, Evan Washburn's got to move to later in the week. He had something come up, and we know what it is, and we understand. So we will absolutely. We get it. He's not trying to bail on us. He's just asked if we could move, and we will be happy to let that move. Brandon Noble will join us at 11 o'clock, and that'll allow us some time to get into Slaps to the Helmet and do our picks recap here in hour number 1. The Ravens have come out and cleared up this thing. There was this other weird thing that occurred yesterday where Adam Newman, who is a higher up with the Big Ten Network, sent out a random tweet about the Ravens holding a press conference at 3:30 today, and it was an odd source for that to come from. And so I was like, well, maybe it's something about I don't know what that would be. Then it got, a bunch of people, including our own Cordell Woodland from 105.7 The Fan, said John Harbaugh is scheduled to address the media at 2:30. And I'm told that the Ravens will make an announcement after that. The announcement will not involve any coach personnel changes. This is an announcement. They're going to hold another press conference, just like was originally stated. But now we know what it is. Jimmy Smith's formally retiring. Which is, a nothing, because we knew Jimmy Smith was retired, but they've done this before, where when a player, makes it official, they let him come in and celebrate them and have a nice day at the castle and all the whole thing, and that's neat. I just don't know why the Ravens felt the need to be secretive about it. I mean, I have no clue. I get that they want to be the ones that make the announcement, but once it's out there, you're only making it more awkward by not just saying, yes, there's going to be a second press conference tomorrow, and you can still say the same thing. It's not about a coach or personnel change, but there will be a second press conference tomorrow. That's easy. That's not hard. Sometimes we get so the world of PR has gotten to a point where you're so afraid of everything that it has to be perfectly calculated. And if anything throws that off, that's all you got to say. Hey, there are going to be 2 press conferences tomorrow. John Harbaugh's press conference, and we're going to have another press conference afterwards. And the one afterwards is not about a personnel change or a coaching change, and we'll let you know tomorrow what it is. I don't understand the reason why you said, well, we're going to make an announcement after that. You made the announcement this morning. Jimmy Smith's retired. They just tweeted it. You were holding another press conference. The guy was right. Why are you trying to fight about it? It's such a weird bit sometimes that we do. In the end, no harm, no foul. Except for the part where you allowed people to kind of get carried away. You were like, maybe they're fine. Stop, for God's sakes. No one was ever getting fired. Do you understand how dumb you are when you start saying things like that? I tweeted about this. It makes me realize just how unserious people are. You just live in this bizarro world where you think that a 2-2 team made a decision 5 minutes after a game to fire someone. I mean, get the entire F out of here with that. Stop. Settle down. Jimmy Smith retires. Which, again, we knew. It's the thing, it's news in that they're going to hold a press conference for him, but it's not news. Jimmy Smith isn't playing football, and maybe Jimmy Smith was hoping that somebody was still going to call him, and, that phone call didn't come, so, he decided at this point he doesn't feel like continuing to train and stay ready, so he's good. I guess the interesting part would be, how retired are you? Remember, Eric Weddle was retired right up until he got a very specific phone call, and that one worked out quite well for him. Are you retired, or are you retired? I said this to Adam Jones when we talked to him earlier in the year. Are you definitely retired, or if Buck were to call in August and say, bro, I need some help getting this thing across the finish line, I could use one more vet, would you? And he was like, yeah, I'd probably do it for Buck. I was like, okay, so you're that type of retired. You're pretty retired, but that. And I maybe would guess that might be the same thing for Jimmy. He's pretty sure he's retired, but man, if he got the right phone call at the end of the year, the Eric Weddle situation popped up. Maybe he wouldn't be as retired at that point. But they'll have a nice press conference for Jimmy today, and that'll be neat. But I don't. There's nothing else to say about it. That's all. It was just weird the way that this unfolded yesterday. It was such a weird bit, man. I don't understand things sometimes. Today's show also brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Later this afternoon on Facebook Live, Stan, Ross Grimsley, and Luke are going to kind of do I want to say it's about the demise of the Orioles, because the Orioles are still going to finish with a winning record, obviously, after they clinched a win. They clinched that with their win yesterday. But they're going to kind of put the finishing touches on the Orioles season, because we do know that they're not going to make the playoffs. That did officially get clinched over the weekend. So they'll put the finishing touches on that in a roundtable discussion today. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, and PressBox's Luke Jackson coming up a little bit later on today. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. All right, let's do this. Let's get in for let's do a picks recap, and then we'll do slaps to the helmet. Be sending me your slaps to the helmet at Glenn Clark Radio. I've already gotten a bunch. We will continue to share them out at Glenn Clark Radio. You know the rules. 5 Ravens, 2 must be offensive, 2 must be defensive, and the 5th can be whoever you want. Another offensive player, another defensive player, a special teams player, or a coach. Rank them 5 to 1, with number 1 being your sort of anti-man of the match. Send them to me at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We'll continue to share them throughout the day. Start with Picks Recap, however. Picks Recap is brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show, and we will be back. We will be at Guilford Hall Brewery tomorrow night for the Tyus Bowser Show, October 4th. We will be hanging out in Station North, 1611 Guilford Avenue. Looking forward to it. I know everybody's frustrated, but hopefully this is the week we get Tyus back on the field, and that starts to change things. He is available to return, or eligible to return, starting this week. Don't know, can't say, and Tyus is smart enough to know that the Ravens don't want him to give it away, so we'll bring it up tomorrow, but I guarantee the answer we'll get is, we'll have to see. Like, I just know, and I'm okay with it. I understand. I'm not trying to get the man in trouble. But we're going to be hanging out at Guilford Hall Brewery. Tyus and a special guest. Hopefully that'll be confirmed today, and we'll be able to share that with you. All you got to do, come out, 7 o'clock. Hang out with us. Enjoy the delicious food at Guilford Hall Brewery, the incredible craft beer selection at Guilford Hall Brewery, and just shoot the breeze with, your favorite Baltimore football players. The Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. If you want to find out more, go to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. But what you need to know, tomorrow night, Tyus, special guest, Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. Come hang out with us, 1611 Guilford Avenue. All right, Picks Recap. It's a shame you didn't put a side bet on this week.
Really, really
nice little week. So 7 of us that are competing, a little bit of cash at the top, trying to avoid being the worm at the bottom. That's the guy that's got to eat a worm burger, get a stink face, try to perform the worm, and dress up like the worm, Dennis Rodman, in a wedding dress while you do all of it. Only 2 of us had winning records this week. I was one of them, and Griffin was the other. Griffin had the best week he's had all year long.
Yeah.
Real shame nothing was at stake.
About to start rolling.
Real shame there was no side bet on this week. We started with Maryland, Michigan State. Thank God I listened to Vegas this time. Michigan State stinks. Now, somebody might say they stink so much that Maryland should have won by a more comfortable margin than 27-13. But let's ease up on all that. Let's remember what it is that we're talking about, okay? Okay, Maryland played quite well. They are setting up. We've been talking about this stretch. They've got this 4-game stretch where they could really do some damage and potentially make some of these late season games a bit more interesting. Kansas is getting College Game Day this week. Kansas is getting College Game Day this week. I believe I saw that leaves only 4 schools that have never hosted College Game Day. Is that...
schools that...
4 power conference.
4 power. Okay.
Can you double check on that for me? I believe it was 5, and Kansas was one of them. And so you now, strike them off the list, and how many are left at this point? Maybe it was 6 and it's down to 5 now because of Kansas. Double check on that. But what if Maryland were to roll through this stretch, Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, and Wisconsin, who I get it. It's still Wisconsin that we're talking about, but they're in shambles. They just fired Paul Chryst. And then what if they were to somehow go and win at Penn State? And I get that feels like crazy. You think there'd be a chance that Ohio State game the weekend before Thanksgiving? Ooh. Look, I'm not. Do I think it's likely? Not at all. I don't think it's likely. I think they're going to trip up at some point. And the Penn State thing seems like a reach at this point, although they've won twice at Penn State over the years.
So there's 8 schools entering the season. So now there's 7.
There's
Kansas
7?
Yes, there's 7.
That's not the number that I
Cal,
heard.
Duke, Illinois. This is from August.
Okay.
So Cal, Duke, Illinois, Maryland, Rutgers, Syracuse, and Virginia have not hosted game day.
Okay. All right. So those are the schools that are left. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maryland wins comfortably, and so those of us that were smart enough to see the movement on the spread and decide to roll with Maryland this time benefited from it, myself, Griffin, and Kyle Ottenheimer. But Kyle might have only done that because he hates Michigan State because he's a Michigan man. He might have not been about Maryland at all. Everybody else screwed up because they didn't recognize it. We were not going to make the same mistake twice. Griffin lone wolfed it and stole a point. This is the difference.
I told you I know Navy football.
Yes, no, exactly the opposite of what you said, which is I have no idea, but I like Ty Lavatai. It's what you said. The heartbreak is that Navy had a chance and unfortunately ends up losing 13-10 to Air Force, so they will not be able to claim the Commander and Chiefs trophy this year. But they do get a cover, and that's good news for Griffin, who lone wolfed that one. Shame on me for showing any amount of trust in NC State, the same school that lost 4 times to Maryland with Phillip Rivers as their quarterback. It's on me. John Proctor and Andrew Stecca were the only ones on Clemson covering, and they beat NC State 30-20. Of course, on Thursday night, most of us were on Cincinnati except for Proctor and Kyle. We all got that. Clearly, the result was the lesser storyline than the Tua situation. The games yesterday, Tennessee, Indianapolis. I didn't really have a good feel for this game. I just knew that Indianapolis had not done anything to deserve being a 3-point favorite over anyone at this point. And so I decided to roll with that, and that paid off. Andrew Stecca and Ken Zales were also on Tennessee. They won outright 24-17 in Indy. I felt really good, and the Jaguars are up 14-0, man. I was like, yo! Did not last. Looked up, they were down 29-14. What the hell just happened? Ultimately, 29-21 was the final score. So it was close. I was a 1.5 off, but did not get that cover. Myself, Paul Valley, and John Proctor were on Jacksonville, so we all lost that one. Griffin's stat about the winless teams that were favored in Week 4, chef's kiss.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Vegas defeats Denver 32-23. Myself, Griffin, and Paul Valley were on that one. Everybody but Stecca. Things have been going well for Stecca. He had been chugging along. You know, his Stetson figures went 4-0 this week.
Did they really?
4-0.
I wasn't even really
perfect week.
Close with
Two trips removed from a winless week. He had a perfect week in Stetson figures, but alas, he was the lone wolf on Tampa, who got. I know it ended up being a 10-point game, but it was not nearly as close as the final score might indicate. They got their butts whooped by Kansas City last night at home, as the Chiefs end up winning 41-31. I have no idea. It's not. When we got it, Tampa was getting a 1.5. Within a day, they were favored because we figured out the game was going to be in Tampa, which was insanity. I don't know why anyone wouldn't have raced to make that bet. Buffalo-Baltimore ends up being a push because it was 3 points, so KZ was the lone wolf on Buffalo. He's trying to argue, because I was a lone wolf, I should get a 0.5 point. No. No. I don't think we need to say anything else. No. That's not a thing. Everybody ends up getting a push. So only 8 picks count for the week. Griffin was top dog at 6-2, then myself at 5-3. 4-4 for Andrew Stecca and KZ. So that game that I made up on KZ actually pulls me into a tie atop the table. Tough weeks for Paul Valley and Kyle Ottenheimer at 3-5. Really tough week for John Proctor at 2-6. So
gained some ground.
You did. You are no longer in second to last place. No. You have moved up. Here's how it looks. Myself and KZ at the top of the table at 23-19. 2 games back. Kyle Ottenheimer's 500, 21-21. Paul and Griffin are now both 3 games back of the top. They are both 20-22. Then you find John Proctor, who is now vice worm at the moment at 19-23. The weird part, and he already tweeted about this, he's 4 games back at the top of the table, 4 games back of the bottom of the table as well. So that also shows that we're still we're still
pretty close.
Yeah. The only person who's in trouble as far as the top of the table is concerned, is Andrew Stecca. It's going to be very difficult for Andrew Stecca to overcome 8 games to win. But again, winning not nearly as important. It's not that much money. And by the way, some of you still haven't paid. I got to get on that.
Do you want Venmo or do you want cash?
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't
think I have cash with me.
I don't.
Today.
You know what? I prefer Venmo.
Okay.
now that I say that out loud, although if I have to go to that haircut place again, I got a new haircut place and it's a cash only place because I guess it's a money laundering scheme. Which is fine. Like that doesn't mean I won't go there.
As long as they cut your hair.
I know, it's correct. They cut my hair just fine. I shouldn't have worn the hat. I should have shown off the new haircut. But I might. Like literally, I was about to go to the ATM, and then for some reason, I had cash in my wallet on Friday. I'm like, well, that's nice. Who saw that coming? I didn't expect that. But I gotta look into that. Anyway, yeah, Steck is the worm at the moment, as he is 8 games back, 4 games behind John Proctor in the race for worm. Proctor, yes, I do appreciate that you added the column for what the trends are, Proctor, on the Excel sheet. I appreciate that. And he points out that he thinks he was down 14 games and came back to win a few years ago. Was it 14? That is a lot. I do remember that season. I think I was the one that fell apart, if I remember correctly. Or did I fall apart?
You blew a 14-game lead? Or?
That's the thing. I don't think I blew it. I don't remember what it was. There was a year where I was comfortably ahead all season long. And then, like, in December, it started chipping away. And I got closer and closer to getting back. I was only up a game going to the Super Bowl, and I blew it. I lost both the Super Bowl and the tiebreaker, and that's how I lost the picks competition for the year. But that's where we are picks-wise after this week. Now, as far as slaps the helmet are concerned, that's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Well, you can reserve yours right now, ginsugrills.com, and if you use the code TAILGATE, you will save $100 when you order your Ginsu Kamado. Who is calling me? Who doesn't? Why would you be calling me right now? 89. Oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't give out the phone number. I don't know who it is. Change my mind. Not going to do that. The all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill for searing, grilling, baking, and smoking all kinds of food. Get yours right now on ginsugrills.com. Use that code TAILGATE, and you will save $100 when you do. You know the drill. 5 Ravens. 2 must be offensive players. 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be anything you like. Oh, baby, you can have whatever you like. Rank them 5 to 1, with number 1 being your anti-man of the match. My number 5, Griffin, is Tyler Linderbaum, whose penalties were quite an issue during the course of the game. I know people keep praising the push, and I thought he played better a week ago against New England after what I thought was a bad day for him against Miami. I did think that he played fairly well, and there was that's the frustrating part, is after New England, like all of the Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum stuff, you were like, man, maybe this was the day. Maybe these guys kind of came into their own. Then Kyle Hamilton was barely on the field yesterday, and Tyler Linderbaum was constantly being penalized. So, womp. I mean, I get it. They're rookies, but considering we have some concerns about some other recent first-round picks, it would be nice if maybe we could see something a bit more consistent from these first-round picks. But rough day for Tyler Linderbaum. He is my number 5.
Yeah, I was thinking about going, I don't know, Jerome Boger or Brandon Stevens, because he got the roughing call as bad as it was, but he had.
Yeah, it was definitely a brutal call.
Yes, but I think I'm going to put John Harbaugh at number 5 because
you're being very kind.
Yeah, because I guess hindsight, we have to kick it there, but anytime you go for it on 4th down, I'm never going to be like livid about it. But he still did not have a great day coaching wise. It was that challenging the spot, and then even not being wishy-washy with his defense of going for it in post game. So I didn't think he had a great day. So he's going to be number 5 for me.
We'll get to him.
Yeah.
Promise you that. We will get to John Harbaugh. Number 4 for me is Dafe Owe. I didn't think he actually had an awful game on the whole. Obviously, the thing at the end of the game stands out. Obviously, and this goes back into like the coaching question. How could there be confusion about what was going on there? How could there be any confusion?
It looked like 10 guys knew what they were doing. And then
so that has to fall on a Dafe Owe, but yet, like, you still have to wonder about, like, was there someone else who was saying, yeah, but if you can get the fumble, go for it. Like, There's so much of that is confusing. It is a very difficult thing. I talked about this in the postgame show yesterday. It's a very difficult thing because there's multi-layers to it, right? Like when the Bills get back out on the field, you're trying to get the stop. When you don't, at some point during the drive, you have to be able to communicate, hey, look, we can't get a stop. We have to not only let them score, if we get the chance, we have to try to help them score. Because we know, and we could sort of see, that Singletary was trying to go down. He wanted to get the first down and then go down. You basically have to get, the first couple guys have to let him go by. But then someone has to, actually go try to tackle him into the end zone. That's the damnedest part about it. The damnedest part about it is you have to convey something very specific in that moment. You have to figure out what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the first down because then they have complete control. You're out of timeouts. They can just set up and do whatever they want to do. So they're going to try to get close. They're not going to slide down at the 5. They're going to try to slide down at the 2. So you've got to be able to convey, hey, if somebody gets down to the 2-yard line, you have the opportunity to try to push them into the end zone. Now, maybe the ref is going to blow their whistle and prevent you from doing that, but you at least have to try. What can't happen is what happened. And it's a tough thing to do, and I don't know, I still don't understand what happened with Marcus Peters. I still don't know what specifically Marcus Peters was mad about. I still would like to know the answer to, was he mad because John Harbaugh said something to someone on the sideline after they screwed up? Was he mad because he didn't like the idea of allowing another team to score?
Right. I mean, he seemed like one of the first guys to throw his hands up, too, after Oweh made the tackle.
Was he mad because somebody was mad at him for yelling at Oweh?
Right.
I would just like to. I know that John.
We probably will never find out.
Credit John Harbaugh because he understands it's not good for anybody to air out dirty laundry, right? And he's right. But I still selfishly would like to know what happened. It would just be nice to know. Ultimately, we might never. But Dafe Oweh is my number 4.
Yeah, I had Oweh at 3 for the same exact reasons. Number 4, I am going to put Lamar Jackson.
Okay, he is my number 3.
Okay. He threw he had interceptions, and he didn't convert on.
Missed Mark Andrews on the touchdown on the field goal drive earlier. Obviously, Devin Duvernay was open, and he just kind of never looked there. And then I get he was. I think we're being too critical because he was under a lot of pressure after that,
right.
And then he just. To assume that he should be able to see that while he's also trying to run backwards to elude pressure is tough, but it was there. The play, Devin Duvernay was wide open.
But he overall just didn't have a great game.
I thought he was skittish. I thought that as the offensive line started to struggle, and the offensive line, after the first couple of possessions, really did start to struggle during the course of the game, I thought it made him skittish. The drop... Rashad Bateman is going to get his ass saved from me because he's not going to show up on this list. But even on the drop, there's a better way to throw that ball. Yes, Rashad Bateman needs to catch it, but even on that play, that ball, he's wide open. You can give him a better ball, especially on a day where the weather conditions were difficult. Doesn't excuse it from Rashad Bateman, but it's one more layer on what happened in the course of yesterday's game. That if you go back and look at that play, yes, Rashad Bateman needs to figure out a way to catch it, but at the same time, there is no reason for the ball to be thrown outside like that when nobody was around. You were not avoiding someone who could have had an opportunity to make a play on the ball. You could have given him a better ball and a better chance to make that play given the weather conditions. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson's my number 3 because of all of that.
Gotcha.
You already said your number 3 is Dafe Oweh.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out who's higher on your list. My number 2. Bateman's yours.
Bateman is
okay.
on my list, yes.
All right, that's fine.
I had him 2.
That's fine. My number 2 is Patrick Queen. Obviously, the dropped interception was a game turner. That's back-to-back weeks with dropped interceptions, and it's not like he's doing so much otherwise to make up for it, and that's the problem. I think he's talented. I think there's something there. I thought we saw last season what he's capable of doing, and he got comfortable in the second half of last season. He played really well, but just ain't good right now. Just ain't good. Patrick Queen's my number 2.
So Bateman was my number 2, and Queen.
But you're also kind of a Queen hater.
I am a Queen
hater. It's
a
weird.
I'm thinking what we should do, like we did with Kenny Young, and traded him for Marcus Peters. We should probably try to flip Queen for an elite corner.
Yeah, I mean, somebody still has to play inside linebacker.
Or we can just make him play edge rusher.
Right.
He seems to be very good at that, but when he's in coverage, he looks completely lost.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to watch.
It's it ain't great. There's no getting around it. It ain't great. Number 1, I God bless you for leaving him as low as you did, but John Harbaugh is my number 1. Like it's inexcusable. And they had the chance to win, and that was significant. I can't get around it. I cannot get around it. A lot of you gotten your slaps of the helmet in already at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Continue to do that. Paul Moss, 5 Linderbaum, 4 Bateman, 3 Bynes. Bynes actually made one really good play. I'm trying to remember what it was. He had a really good play on 3rd down at some point during the course of the game.
Was it a pass breakup or?
I can't remember if it was a tackle or a pass breakup, but he did have a nice.
And then he
might have been a pass breakup.
And then he was hurt for a little bit.
Right, he definitely was hurt. There's no question about that. Has 5 Linderbaum, 4 Bateman, 3 Owe, 2 Queen, 1 Harbaugh. Nick 5 Owe, 4 Lamar, 3 Bateman, 2 Harbaugh, 1 Queen. Yeah, getting a lot of the same group. Not a lot of. I don't understand. What? Proctor put Justin Matabike on it? Justin Matabike would have been one of the guys that would have been on the Pats list for me. Justin Matabike had a great day to me. That's a very weird choice. 4 Lamar, 3 Bateman, 2 Harbaugh, 1 Queen. Continue to get me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We will continue to share them throughout the day. Slaps to the helmet. Slaps also brought to you today by the Maryland 5 Stars. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5 Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Brandon Noble was on the call for yesterday's game for their national radio broadcast. We will chat with him about it next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip, that first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens' Greatest Plays. It was called the Mile High Miracle, a 70-yard touchdown pass against Denver with 30 seconds left to send the game into overtime. The Ravens eventually won, propelling them to the championship. Another great Ravens play belongs to Diane from Annapolis. Diane played Ravens Scratch-Offs and won season tickets for 20 years. You could be next. Play Ravens Scratch-Offs with instant prizes up to $100,000. And please play responsibly.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
All right, back in here on GCR is when to hour number 2 of the program. Coming up in a little bit, Dan Wilcox is going to join us. We will get his thoughts on the Ravens' loss to the Bills, and Brandon Noble in just a second will check in with us as well. Matt Torper chimed in, says, the fourth down decision late in the game will be hotly debated. I would have taken the points, but it's no guarantee they would have held on to win. The bigger concern is the overall lack of production on offense in the second half. That's, again, I have no problem. We are obsessing over this decision, understandably obsessing over it. It's not the singular story of what happened in the game. You don't score any points at all in the second half against the Buffalo Bills, you're almost certainly going to lose. Now, the easiest thing to say is, well, they would have scored points if they had just chosen to kick a field goal there. That would be 3 points. You just kick a field goal, you got 3. They didn't do that. Fair. I can't argue that. Fair. They wouldn't have gone scoreless. But even scoring 3 points in the second half might have been not enough to have won. So I have no problem with the idea being, hey, the story to me isn't about the decision. The story to me is about the offense failing to score in the second half. Fine. I actually think that's a better argument than blaming it on the defense. But I think there's a totality picture here, and that's where I come out of it. The totality to me is that I don't think this team is quite good enough to overcome coaching lapses. I think they are good, and they have the potential to be very good, but they're not good enough to be able to make up for bizarre coaching. How do you get a delay of game when you're running out for a field goal? Thank God you've got Justin Tucker as your kicker. That 51 yards in those conditions is nothing. How does that happen? How does that occur? A delay of game when you're lining up for a field goal. Our next guest was in Baltimore yesterday. Sorry we couldn't give him better weather as he traveled down for the call of Ravens-Bills for Sports USA. He is former NFL defensive lineman Brandon Noble, and he is with us once again here on GCR. Brandon, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Yeah, Glenn, I appreciate you having me on, man. That was a heck of a football game yesterday. This is probably a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah, a lot to... As you'd imagine, it's not exactly... Remember what the weather looked like yesterday in Baltimore? That's exactly how we're feeling today again in Baltimore.
I understand that. I understand that completely. And look, I live in Southeast PA, so I'm in Philadelphia Eagles land, and so I understand the ups and downs of fandom really well. And they're obviously really happy up here. But look,
no doubt.
Yeah, but it's not always like that. So it was yesterday was tough. I mean, that was a tough loss for a team that really battled up at the very end, and I mean, look, obviously there's some huge second guessing kind of moments, but the Ravens looked really good for 30 minutes, and then it just kind of all fell apart.
Let's try to cover everything that you just brought up there. Let's get out of the way your feeling about the decision, and Brandon, I will present it this way. I don't even fight people about analytics, right? Like I do think there are times where the math simply does explain why a lot of people have opinions about like teams that go for 2 when they're down 14, but I get it. I understand why the math says it makes sense for you to do something like that. Doesn't mean you have to, but I understand that. The analytics don't say the Ravens needed to go for it. The next gen stats explained it was a 1.7% change in the percentage chance of winning the game by choosing to go for it. That's negligible. That's a wash. There's nothing about that says that's a decision you have to make analytically. The biggest issue I have with it is very specific. It's the clock. You go for it on 4th and 1 from your own 34. You got an entire quarter to play. If something goes wrong, the risk that you're taking, you got a lot of time to try to overcome it. When you do this here, you allow for what happened to happen, to let the other team have the ball and you never see it again. You allow for that to occur by making this decision. And as badly as you want to score and you want to punctuate what has been your best drive of the second half and not wanting to waste it and knowing that, hey, your defense has struggled a little bit, this is the Bills we're talking about, the risk of presenting a scenario where they can start playing the clock and not give you the ball back is too great for me. It's inexcusable to allow that to be something that would play out.
Yeah, and it is. And look, I agree with you. All of those things. And the other thing that really struck me, and I am too old school to really dig into analytics too much. But Josh Appel, who I did the game with yesterday, obviously he was the play-by-play guy, and we talked a lot about it, kind of over the last 24 hours that we both went home, and even as we left the booth, that decision, right? But the thing that really hit home to me was when he sent me a screenshot today, and I'm not going to get the numbers right because I have a Penn State education and I hit myself in the head for way too long. But the chance of success on the play, the scoring play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kick the field goal, to success of scoring and getting a field goal, 99% from right there.
Right.
Especially like when you got Justin Tucker, probably the best kicker ever in the NFL, super easy, chip shot, you get the points, right? The chance of success of scoring the touchdown was like 65% or 43. It was something where you go, you know what, like the risk reward there for what you get on the other side of it, which was still like a 60% chance to win, didn't make any sense to me. It's a lot easier to kick a field goal and get the points than it is to score a touchdown against one of the top defenses in the NFL. And so from that perspective, on top of what you just said, right, you don't have a chance to overcome that mistake against an offense that has all of a sudden found itself in the Bills, right? And your defense has now been on the field. Now, they had a nice break after that drive. That was a beautiful drive to not get points. And that's the worst part, right? It's almost like looking at the Bills the week before against the Dolphins, right? To get that close to being able to kind of get out of it with a win and then losing the game. And what that does to your team. I think the Bills were a little hungover from that loss in the first half. And I think you're going to see that from the Ravens next week. I actually have the Ravens against the Giants in 2 weeks. Up there in New York, but I think that I think it'll be really interesting to see how that locker room and that team and that coach staff handles all those things, because there's plenty of blame to go around. But when the head coach makes that decision, and you saw the reaction, I believe it was Marcus Peters, on the sideline, like that locker room is going to need to kind of come together at some point, or it could fall apart.
Okay, so let's talk about the bigger picture thing, Brandon, and you alluded to this, which is, it's tough for me to figure out what the Ravens are 4 weeks into the season, because they are a team with an electric, in the MVP argument, as dumb as it is to talk about that 4 weeks into the season, quarterback, and they are a team that had a big lead against Miami and a big lead against Buffalo and won comfortably for the most part in their other two games. But they're also a team that's now blown 3 possession leads twice in as many tries at home. And there is an argument for somebody to make that says you can't be. If you do that, you can't possibly be a good team. And I struggle with that, because I think they might be a good team. But damn, it is a compelling argument to make to say they aren't by pointing out the leads that they have blown. What are the Ravens 4 games into this season?
Well, I think the Ravens are. You hit it a little bit. They're an explosive offensive football team with an amazing weapon with the ball in his hand on every play in Lamar Jackson. He has weapons around him. I think one of the things, I think the Ravens offense sometimes doesn't know exactly who it is. I love their run game, but I don't think they run the ball enough, even with the QB run involved. And then the bigger picture to me is on the other side of the ball. Defensively, what has happened to that group? They're explosive, right? They have those two takeaways early in the game against the Bills that changed the momentum of the first quarter, right? Basically, the reason that the Ravens were up is because their defense took the ball away from the Bills' offense. So that was it. I mean, that was it. They put their offense in great position on the 4 of the first drive, right? And then they were able to play well enough and get the Bills backwards, right? That fell apart. That defense doesn't sustain that. You can't win like that, right? The rest of it has to come along. You've got to be solid in the run game. You've got to be able to win on third down, like those kinds of things. And I do think they're reeling a little bit from getting rid of Wink. You know, like I don't. That defense didn't look the same to me. I had them a couple times last year. Didn't look the same to me. And I think that's where the issue is. And in the NFL, you have to be able to play enough defense, right, to win the game. You don't have to play a ton. I mean, look at the track meet out there right now. I mean, everywhere. I mean, it just is. The way the game is built now with the weapons that are running around out there, it's hard to stop people. So I think that's a big part of it. I really do. I think offensively, they're as good as anybody in the league. They really are. I think that, again, they outthink themselves sometimes. Just hand the ball off every once in a while. You know what I mean? Or run the quarterback. Again, I know people don't like to talk about that as much, but he's a weapon. And I really think that that's what it is. And then I think the other thing, the bigger picture, right, again, talking from a Philadelphia area guy where I live now, is, has John Harbaugh's message gotten lost a little bit there, right? He's been there forever and won a ton of football games, right? I mean, one of the best to do it up there. But like so we watched it happen up here in Philly with Andy Reid, right? It happens eventually. And Andy went on to go coach the Chiefs, right? So is it getting stale in there? And those are all things that we'll figure out over kind of the second half of the season. But I think they're a good team. I just don't think they're as good a complete team as you need to be in the AFC to make a real run right now. Doesn't mean it can't be fixed, but right now, Chiefs, Bills are better football teams.
Brandon Noble is with us, former NFL defensive tackle. He called yesterday's game for Sports USA Radio. Brandon, are those – how do you measure those things versus what they're still missing, right? Like, how do you measure – is there an impact of losing Wink versus the fact that they had one legitimate edge rusher on the field yesterday in Odafe Oweh, and they were forced to throw. And by the way, I thought Jason Pierre-Paul performed admirably, thrown into the mix after being around for all of 4 days and not having a training camp at 33 years old. But like, I guess this is what I still keep coming back to this, right? Like, yeah, maybe there are big problems, but how much of it still is? Some of that can be solved if they can get Tyus Bowser back on the field and David Ajabo into the mix and Justin Houston comes back in a week or two. And we hope Ronnie Stanley is going to play football again at some point, although, my God, who knows? We are so sick of talking about it. How do you measure those things versus, hey, is there an issue with the message or something like that?
Well, I mean, look, that's a part of the NFL, right? Like that, everybody is in this boat. I mean, literally, the last I've called 3 games this year, and minus the first one where everybody was healthy because we just started playing. The Tennessee Titans and the Raiders a couple weeks ago have banged up. Look, the Bills, right? Their 2 starting defensive tackles didn't play yesterday, and Ed Oliver, who's an absolute monster inside. So everybody's in this boat, and that's an NFL issue right now across the board. People are banged up. I do think that with Wink Martindale, he was so creative. You talk about not having your edge rushers. He was so creative in the way that he pressured, and you saw a little bit of it yesterday. But with the way that they brought everybody, right, safeties, edge guys, middle linebackers, he was so creative in his pressure packages that you can kind of overcome some of that stuff. Now, again, playing Josh Allen, maybe you want to go into a different direction. Obviously, it's super easy up in the booth to say send to the safeties. But completely different animal when you're calling the game. So look, they've got to get healthy. That's a part of the war of attrition that is an NFL season, though. The next guy has to come up, and you have to figure out how to win with what you have, and play good defense with what you have. So they'll get healthy. Some of those guys will come back. Some of them, may or may not, or they may not be as effective. But that's a part of the deal, right? And you've got to figure out how to overcome that. And then again, I just go back to you make a couple. It's been a long time since I've seen a player get that heated and confront a coach that I have in a long time, and that tells me a lot about where the locker room is right now.
The only thing I understand it, but we've known Marcus Peters to be an emotional guy over his career, right? Like if it was somebody else, I'd probably be alarmed by it. But everything that we were told, about Marcus Peters when he arrived in Baltimore was like, well, you got to be prepared for this. And I would argue is the Ravens have been extraordinarily fortunate. Marcus Peters has been great ever since he arrived in Baltimore.
Absolutely.
He's been phenomenal, and we've seen very little of this. But kind of knowing his history, I'm a little bit more inclined to say, hey, Marcus Peters is an emotional dude and was an emotional in a frustrating situation, and I'm not ready. Look, man, if we see it again, like if we see it from somebody else,
right,
then I'm more inclined to okay, let's have a conversation about it. But right now, it comes off more to me as just, dude, that's an emotional guy. And I'm not mad at Marcus Peters about it. Dude, it sucks to lose. Like, I understand. It's the NFL. It comes off more as an emotional player in a frustrating moment. And I'm closer to be willing to dismiss that because of it.
No, and look, that's completely fair, right? But it is not what you want to see, right? Whether he's emotional or not, right? Like this. I watched him before they went to kick that field goal, run the length of the sideline to go down and talk to John Harbaugh. But he sprinted with a Nick cap on all the way down the sideline to go tell him to take a timeout. Now, again, that's your safety or your defensive back, right? You don't have to listen to the head coach. But, they knew, right? The team knew that was the wrong decision.
Right.
And that's the issue, right? And eventually, those little things add up. Now, it may not be, maybe they go and win this week. You know what I mean? And they get on a run, and winning fixes everything. But losing like that, and if you do it over and over again, especially if it's on more of, a decision kind of thing.
Yep.
Again, it's like I said, it's just one of those things where you just go, man, that was an interesting moment in the game, and what is the locker room really like? Because it's not easy, man. Winning and losing in the NFL, it's such a high-pressure business, and when you lay it out there and you almost won a couple times and you lose, and you're not used to losing, those things add up. And I'm not saying that there's, he's a cancer. I'm not saying that the locker room's gone, but I'm saying that those are things that start showing when guys are frustrated. And guys guys get frustrated, but, to do that's a whole different animal.
Before I let you go, Brandon, you're a defensive player. What'd you think of that roughing the passer call on Brandon Stevens on the final drive of the game?
I thought it was one of the best LeBron James acts by Josh Allen that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He hit him, and it was definitely, it was not. I didn't feel like he didn't dump him. He didn't lead with his head. He hit him, and it was probably on the edge of being a step off. You know what I mean, from the rules the way that they are now.
Right.
But Josh Allen did a great job acting, kind of throwing himself up in the air and laying on the ground, and then pounding his fists on the ground like a child. As quarterbacks do when they get touched these days, and getting the flag. And it's a shame. I mean, I obviously don't like the call, but when you watched it on the replay, it was a touch late, but it didn't look malicious. It didn't look bad, and I think that Josh Allen did a great job acting.
And it was definitely not forcible contact of the head or neck, as was described by Jerome Boger after the game. It was definitely not.
It definitely was not.
It's definitely not.
Definitely not.
Brandon, where are you headed next?
So I've actually got the Steelers at the Bills next weekend.
Okay.
And then, like I said, week 6, I've got the Ravens at the Giants. So definitely would love to catch up with you guys.
I would love
before or after that.
We will plan on maybe 2 weeks from today. We plan on chatting again, and maybe after we got 2 more games worth of evidence, we have another powwow about where the Ravens are at that point. I love the sounds.
I love it. That would be great.
At BNoble75 on Twitter is how you follow him. Anything else we can plug for you, Brandon?
No, man. I mean, look, I own a couple restaurants up here in Southeast PA, but if anybody's up in the area and they want a good pork roll, egg, and cheese, Bright Spot Cafe up here in Newtown Square, PA.
I'm not the pork roll Taylor ham, of course, debate is, I know, very significant in that portion of the country. I'm not the biggest pork roll man on the face of the planet, but I tell you what, this is a promise. Next time I'm up there, I'm gonna give it a shot. Because
absolutely. I will make you one that will change your mind on that.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Hey, Brandon Noble, always appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks, Glenn.
Brandon Noble, Sports USA Radio, checking in with us here on GCR after frustrating day. We're dancing on it. Wait, when he brings up the idea about the message, I understand. And by the way, I think that provides something for us. I had not seen that Marcus Peters was running after John Harbaugh on the 4th down call. That gives me way more clarity about that situation. That comes off way more like Marcus Peters was still pissed off about that decision, and after they lost the game, he wanted to remind John Harbaugh that he screwed up. And that's more interesting than it being, about the Adafe thing or being about letting somebody score. That says, based on the evidence that Brandon Noble has now presented to us, Marcus Peters in his knit cap was chasing after John Harbaugh on the sideline about that decision to go for it on 4th down, then the thing that happened at the end of the game probably directly tied to that. Here's a player that didn't like a decision that you made, was pissed off about it, and wanted to remind you that he was pissed off about it. So to say, is the message getting stale? I don't know if it's the message, but to Brandon's point, perhaps there's something to be said about, more specifically, are players struggling with decisions that are made? And again, we saw some of this a year ago where decisions that were made that, in most part, I thought were more justifiable backfired. And does that start to build up? Do you need to have a better pulse of your team? For the most part, we always hear that the team likes it when you're aggressive. That's what we hear for the most part. For the most part, we hear from the players, we will always be supportive of aggression. We'll always be supportive of being a team that's trying to go for it, that's trying to push, that wants to go win. But are there unique circumstances? Marcus Peters is a smart dude. Maybe Marcus Peters was thinking about the same thing I was thinking about in that moment. Like, dude, we normally like it when you're aggressive, but, now you're leaving us hanging out to dry, where we got to play against the team and the clock. And that's a losing battle. Maybe in that moment, he was thinking exactly the way that I was thinking. Hey, bro, normally good with aggressive, but this is reckless. Give us the lead. And if we allow a field goal, play on. Help us out slightly here. But you're running a massive risk, and it ain't worth it. And I get it. It's not about you not believing that your team can score a touchdown. But I think we all know it's actually harder to convert on 4th and 2 or 4th and goal from the 2 than it is to convert a 4th and 2 in the middle of the field because you have less field to work with. There is a back line that is bottling you up. It's inexcusable. It's not. Stop with the fire. John Harbaugh needs to be able to take. He doesn't owe anyone a mea culpa. John doesn't have to come out the day at his press conference and be like, you know what, guys, I've thought about it more. I screwed up. He doesn't have to do the who was the coach of
was it Nathaniel
Hackett? He doesn't have to do the Nathaniel Hackett bit. He doesn't have to do that. But he internally needs to be able to recognize it. Internally, there has to be a conversation today to say, you know what, we got too cute there. We screwed up. We didn't think about the big picture of what the risk was that we were taking. And again, I will defend, not just because it worked, I'll defend the 4th and 1 from your own 34. It's bold. It's borderline reckless, but it wasn't even a full yard. It was less than a yard. It was a scenario where you're able to just come up and sneak it. You didn't have to hand. Anytime you have to do anything in your operation besides that involves anything else, a handoff, a pass, there's so many things that can go wrong. We saw that, of course, on the goal line early in the season where a snap went awry. When all you got to do, hand the ball off, fall forward, the percentage chance of converting it becomes significantly greater. And with still more than a quarter to play, it's a risk worth taking. In that moment, when you can give the ball back to the other team and let them play both to win, score-wise and via the clock, You can't take that risk. You can't. And I hope that internally that's a conversation they can have. And I hope that they can sit down and John Harbaugh can go back to Marcus Peters and be like, you know what, man? You're right. We screwed up. We screwed up. And you deserve better than that. Our fault. It ain't going to happen again. We're going to listen to you guys. We're going to, I hope that can occur. I hope that it's not such a stubborn. I hope that the one thing that I really worry about today is more BS about analytics. There is no analytical argument. None. Yes, you'd like to be up by 7 points instead of 3. Like if you want to make it that, well, in one scenario, you're only going to be up by 3. In another scenario, you could be up by 7. But you can make the same argument if you were 4th and goal from the 12. Are you going to go for it there?
I did see one more analytic thing. The Ravens win probability before the play was 67%. I guess assuming they're going to kick the field goal, and then had they converted and scored a touchdown, their win probability would have risen to 84%.
It's not about had they converted. It's got to be before the play. It's got to be specifically not knowing what the outcome of the play is. What is the exact change based on the decision?
Right.
Because you can't assume that they're going to convert. Clearly, they want to convert. But a conversion cannot be assumed, unlike a short field goal, which of course you can assume. You have to factor in the risk of failure making that decision. The analytics of the decision you can't assume you're going to convert everything. Or else, again, why would you ever punt? If you just assume you're going to convert everything,
well, yeah,
you never punt. You never kick a field goal.
I like that idea.
A lot of people have suggested it over the years.
After they didn't get it, their win probability dropped to 42% after the interception.
I can't believe it was still that high.
Yeah. I wonder what it would have been if there was no interception, they got the ball to 2
instead of the 25. Yeah, I mean the 20. I get the argument. But again, you have to find, in order to define what the actual analytical decision is, you have to know. That's why the next gen stats number is so good.
The 1%.
And other people have other formulas for describing it, but you have to know before the play exactly what the percentage change was in just going for it, because it's got to factor in the risk. That next-gen stats number factors in the risk and says it's a 1.7% difference. Which, again, a dumb person would say, well, that's better. But all of us who understand statistics understand that's negligible. It's what that says is 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You got to figure it out. You can't keep hiding behind analytics. There are times where, again, and I always hate when we just use this dumb catchphrase. There are mathematical decisions that are made where sheer math, the understanding of math, will help you understand it. I don't think teams have to go for 2 when they're down 14 and score a touchdown, but I get why the math. 2-point conversions are essentially a 50-50 proposition. So if you use that, the likelihood is you're going to get one of the 2. If you get the first one, then you just kick an extra point and win. If you don't, you got the same percentage chance of getting the second one. It's not a guarantee, but I get the math. I understand it. The math isn't there. The math doesn't math on this one. Analytics is not the answer. Something else is. And I get John Harbaugh doesn't want to say, I thought our defense was gassed and they were going to get their ass kicked. To the point that Brandon Noble had just made, why would they be gassed? The Ravens had just put together a long 90-plus yard drive. They had just had plenty of time to rest. Why would that be in your decision-making? There's nothing. There's nothing there. Today's show, also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Dan Wilcox is up next. We'll get his thoughts on who the Ravens are at this point in the season. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests, and of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 4th at 7 p.m. at Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
We're getting to the end of the line for this print issue of PressBox. Only, what at this point, 2 weeks left for you to go get this at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You'll still be able to read it all at PressBoxOnline.com, but Mark Andrews on the cover, larger than life. Go get it for free right now. And then coming up in, I think, 2 weeks from today, right about 2 weeks from now, coming up at that point, we will have the new print issue with Kevin Willard on the cover. All right, so let's continue to discuss it. Obviously, an unpleasant day in Baltimore. Joining us now to try to help us make some sense of it, he is our friend, former Ravens tight end, and the host of the Believe in Ravens podcast with our buddy Bo Smolka. He is Mr. Dan Wilcox, and he's back with us now on GCR. Dan, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm great, Glenn. How are you, buddy?
Well, other than having to talk about this for 4 hours, doing a post-game show yesterday and 2 more hours this morning. Other than that, yeah. I am where you were once upon a time. My life personally no longer affected nearly as much because I get to go home to my 2 boys yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care about this. I don't care about anything at all. I just care about hanging out and playing with the boys. So life is better for me in that way. Let me start with the decision. Where are you with the Ravens' decision to go for it on 4th and goal? I preface it by telling you, Daniel, in the immediacy, my biggest fear was I don't mind going for it on 4th down in the third quarter, even on your own side of the field, because you got a lot of time left if something goes wrong. The risk of giving the Bills the ball back with a chance to just need to score a field goal and be able to milk the clock, which ultimately they did, was not something that I was okay with messing around with. I'm not trying to make it seem like I was brilliant or I was a soothsayer or something like that, but that's the type of risk that I just don't mess with in that moment. What say you?
I'm a little mixed on it, man. I love the fact that Harbaugh trusts the offense enough to get it in and punch it in 2 yards out or go for it on 4th down and short all the time. And, I love that, because you always want a coach to believe in you, especially on every level. That want becomes greater and greater and greater. At the same time, you want to make educated decisions. And unfortunately, we just haven't been good in that situation. We had a couple games last year. We went for it at the end of the game to try to go for the win instead of the field goal to tie and put us in overtime. And we went for it. We lost those 2 games. And then you come back this year, you get in that same situation again, with more time on the clock. And then you go for it again. And I think I'm fine with him being gutsy enough to go for it with 4th and 2 on the goal with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I think I'm just really upset with the play call. I'm not really happy with the play call they called. I just don't. And I said this earlier this morning when me and Bo talked on Believe in the Ravens podcast. And I was telling Bo the same thing. I was like, Bo, look, I just don't see you taking the most dynamic player in the NFL, the most dynamic quarterback, the most dangerous dual threat quarterback in the NFL, and make him drop back like a regular passer in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the game, yeah, it's okay. But in that situation, you got to put him in a two-way, three-way go where he can run it. He can hand it off, he can run it, or he can throw it. It's the art. That's why they call it run pass option for a reason, man. You have an RPO quarterback, and then you try to make him stay in the pocket, and then he gets forced out of the pocket. He ends up running backwards and having to throw the ball off his back leg. He couldn't see the Duvernay because he had guys in his face at the time. He had to get out of the pocket to even be able to see him. As he rolls out the pocket, now Duvernay comes wide open, and it's too late to get him the ball by that time because he's been sitting there doing jumping jacks in the end zone for like 3-4 seconds. And then he throws the ball off his back foot, didn't get enough power on it, and the ball ended up getting picked off. And, with 4 minutes on the clock, you still think you got time to get that ball back in that situation. And I can understand Harbaugh's thought process. They just went on a 14-play drive and ate up 9 minutes of the fourth quarter. You thinking like we already rolling, we definitely going to get it. But you need your offensive coordinator to call a better play and put you in a better situation at that time of the game. And I just didn't think the play call was the best play call ever.
Dan, we're now in a situation where we're 4 games in, and we know the Ravens are a good team. We certainly know how good Lamar Jackson is. It's insane how good he is. Didn't have a brilliant day yesterday, but, he's still Lamar Jackson. But we also now have the evidence of 2 blown 3-possession leads at home in as many tries. And a lot of people, it's a dumb thing to say, but you'll hear this sentence, good teams don't do that. And it's kind of hard to argue against that. So what are the Ravens 4 games into the season?
I'm going to tell you straight up. I can't say it no other way, Glenn. I really think the Ravens are an elite team. I really think they're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL right now. I think they're stacked at every position. I think the 2 games that you've lost, and you have to really ask yourself this, Glenn. And I throw this question off on you. Are the Ravens 2-2 because of the players? Or are they 2-2 because of the coaching? You have to really ask yourself that. And then you got a whole nother debate that comes on from that point on, man. And I think the Ravens hands down, or I believe that the Ravens hand down is one of the top 5 teams in the NFL right now. And I think they're 2-2 right now off mistakes and bad play calling, bad situation, bad clock management. Just like the Bills OC was pissed off last week when they lost that game on clock management and stuff like that. I think the Ravens have lost 2 games on just clock management situation, bad calls, not taking the time out, when the player's not on the same page because you got the play call in too late or something like that. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like the Ravens are 2-2 because of the players. I feel like they're 2-2 because of coaching. And that goes back from day one at practice on Monday after the game. If you're going in on Mondays, Tuesday's usually your day off, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those 3 days, those 3-4 days that you got to practice, you got to iron out all this stuff that's going on. You can't make the same mistake twice. And as far as I'm concerned, this mistake that we just made yesterday was the same mistake we made 2 times last season and cost us 2 games that we should have won. And I think you kick the field goal when you got Justin Tucker always.
Yep.
I just think you never leave points on the field. Anytime you got a guy as good as him, as prolific as he is, and he's a Hall of Fame kicker, I just don't think you ever take the ball off his foot. You always put the ball on his foot. Let him get his 3 in the 4th down situation. With 4 minutes on the clock, you could possibly get the ball back. The Ravens defense have been getting turnovers like they normally do in the years past. They're back to playing at that high level where they're getting 2 or 3 turnovers a game. They just haven't started turning them into touchdowns yet. But as soon as they start turning those turnovers into touchdowns, then you pretty much back to the old Ravens defense. They still got to learn how to stop the run.
Dan Wilcox is with us here on GCR. Are you worried at all? Because I think you're right. Are you worried at all, though, about the totality of – we saw a scene at the end of yesterday's game with Marcus Peters, getting after John Harbaugh. Do you worry about the impact of the decisions and any sort of fracturing within the locker room about players saying, hey, we've done our job, you've let us down? Do you worry about any of that?
Absolutely. I mean, this game is all based off personalities and freaking communication and just having confidence. If you don't have the confidence in me as a player, it makes me a worse player. It makes me not a very good player. But if you got confidence in me as a coach, as a player, man, I'm so much better. Temperament is everything. Chemistry is everything. The Ravens do a very strategic job of putting the right players on their team. They don't put players on their teams that are cancers. If they feel like a guy's a cancer, he's out. You can guarantee that guy's out. You're not going to waste time to get rid of him. I don't care how good he is, how bad he is. The frustration you see from Peters, I think, is warranted. I think, and I was telling Bo this morning too. I was like, I don't think you look at your marriage. When you and your wife get in an argument, is it because of one thing or is it because of multiple things?
Yeah, it's everything. Something just sets it off, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could be the smallest thing that sets off the argument, but you better believe your wife has been mad at you for months over the same thing, and you've done it multiple times, and now it's built up, and she explodes on you.
Right.
And when you see a player react the way that Marcus Peters did, the other day, it's the same thing. It's a build-up. He's frustrated. He's just build up, and you see the frustration explodes and comes out. It wasn't because of that one play call or that one decision that Harbaugh made. It was multiple decisions or multiple play calls or multiple things that's happened over the course of time of him being in Baltimore, and now you're seeing it come out, and you're seeing it lash out. He lashed out and it became a back-and-forth thing, and Harbaugh is not the type of guy that tells players not to challenge him. He don't mind you challenging him.
Okay.
He used to push you to a point where you could do that because it shows what kind of person you are. It shows how you really feel. It shows what kind of man you are. He'd rather you not be the guy that's going to be quiet all the time. He wants the guys that's going to challenge him sometimes too because iron sharpens iron. So I think the backlash from Peters will be discussed. I think him and Harbaugh sit down, hopefully man to man, and figure it out amongst themselves, and then they'll go relay that to the team that we squashed it, whatever the situation was, and he was right for feeling the way he felt, and I understand it. I hear you guys, and this is what we're about to do to fix it.
I like that.
That's what you do. That's what you do when you got a bunch of grown men.
Yep. Doesn't need to happen in public. Doesn't need to it's frustrating, Dan, because you're on our side now. We'd like to see that. We'd like to hear it, but I get it. That's not the way this works. That they handle it the way that they handle it and make sure everybody's on the same page and all's good from there, and we don't need to know about it as much as dopes like me would like to get those answers. That's just the way that it goes. Let me pose another one to you if I could, Dan. I'm in a weird – I don't like talking about the Ronnie Stanley thing because we hear fans say, Ronnie's stealing money. He should be out there. And all I can say back is dude, you have no idea what's going on. You are clueless as to what's going on, and you're just running your mouth. But it is awkward, right? He has been practicing, and he's not on the field. Is there a point where teammates start asking about it? Is there ever a point where a teammate says, "Hey, dude, you planning on playing?" What does that look like in a locker room when you're dealing with something like this.
Yeah, anything that you hear fans say, the players have already thought of it 10 ways to Sunday. So the way players see things is like when a guy like Ronnie Stanley, he didn't come out of college and get paid a grip right off rip. He earned it. You know, he put in work. He earned the money. They gave him the money because of what he did in the past, and they wanted to see him continue to do it in the future. So the money that he's getting right now is money well earned. You know, he put in the work to prove to him to prove to the Ravens that he deserved it. That's why he's getting it. You know, so, you know, we don't look at it like that at all. I mean, you'll have some guys that mess with you and crack jokes and say little slick things to you.
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie right now, but he making freaking $20 million a year, and he ain't even got to play right now. You know, but at the end of the day, you know what kind of work he put in to get to the point to get the $20 million in the first place. So you respect it, but you'll crack jokes and you'll say those slick things and stuff. And of course, you want him back out there. I mean, you're better with him on the field. You know, at the same time, you got him back out there last year and he wasn't ready. You rushed him back out there, and then you got him hurt all over again. You know, at this point, you want to see them do the right thing by that guy because his future is on the line. His career is on the line. That guy could play another 10 years. You know, not just 2 or 3. He could play another 10. You know, so you want to see him, you know, really take advantage of the situation that he has in Baltimore and them willing to allow him to come back gradually and slowly and not rush him back out there so fast and get him back on the field so that he can help your franchise win games.
I get it.
You know, he's a huge part of your greatness and a huge part of your success, and your quarterback loves him. You know, so take the time, do what he needs to do. You know, he got back out there and practice, you know, full practice and stuff last week. You know, I don't think you throw him right into the fire where he has to react to versus muscle memory. You have to take a little bit more time to let him heal all the way and make sure that he's 100%, and that way you give him a legitimate shot, you know, to get better. And this time, if you don't get better this time, maybe he's injury prone and you got to cut ties with him.
Hey, before I let you go, man, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Tua thing because I sense a particular amount of emotion coming from players that this is particularly troubling because it's really a microcosm of how organizations treat players like commodities. When you watch that unfold, what's going through your mind? And you know that there are a lot of guys that like just want to be out there, that like they're the ones saying, dude, I want to be out there playing. Can you take me through what you were thinking as you saw all of that last week?
Well, it's the same thing that you're talking about with the Ronnie Stanley situation. You know, Ronnie Stanley right now, if it's up to him, he's on the field playing. If he could walk, he plays. You know, and that's the mindset that we've always had because as players, you want to play. You don't care about practicing, but you dang so want to play. You want, when the game comes, you strap on your uniform and put that helmet on in front of thousands and millions and hundreds of thousands of people. You want to play. You really do want to play. So Tua is a guy that's a victim of playing this game that we love so much. You know, he really, really wanted to play. You know, he did whatever he had to do to play, and he probably would have said anything he had to say in order to get out there to play. There's no doubt in my mind, Glenn, that the first play when he got hit and he fell backwards and hit his head on the turf, it wasn't a spinal injury. It was a concussion. Mm-hmm. He got a concussion, and they did what they needed to do in order to try to smooth it over because they wanted to continue to win games, and that's how important winning games is to them. You know, they threw the whole season last year. They in trouble already for trying to pay a coach to lose games just so they can get a higher draft pick. You know, so, I mean, you know the Miami Dolphins want to win. They think this year's their year, and they think they need Tua to do it, you know. So I think they persuaded the kid, you know, to say the things he needed to say in order to go out there and play. And he said, if you're going to let me play, then it's very uncommon that you get 2 concussion-type plays back-to-back, game-to-game. You know, those plays usually come far in between. You know, so if you get a concussion, you just don't get hit that same way again, probably another 10, 15 games or 20 games sometimes. You know, he just so happened to get another concussion-type play,
Yep.
You know, 1 game later, 4 days later from the last concussion-type play. And I just felt like the Dolphins knew what was going on. The team doctors knew what was going on. Tua knew what was going on, and they still allowed him to play anyway. You know, so to me, it's on the Miami Dolphins. It's on their franchise. It shows you what kind of character they have as an organization. I wouldn't want to play in Miami. You know, I'm just being 100 with you. I wouldn't want to play down there. My last year in Baltimore, I had a questionable injury with my shoulder, and I played through it all season long. I couldn't lift my arm. I couldn't lift my hand literally past my waistline. That's how low my arm would come up, and I was told I had a pinched nerve all season long. At the end of the year, I go see Dr. Andrews, and he tell me I got a torn labrum and a torn bicep tendon. So I played all year with a torn labrum and a torn bicep tendon, and they didn't even know it. So that's one situation where somebody give you misinformation, and then another situation where somebody knows something wrong with you and they still push you back out there. In the old days, we played through every concussion. We never came out for a concussion.
Yeah.
We played through them all. Got multiple concussions probably in the same game and never came out. So all the concussion protocol has been put in place for a reason, Glenn. And I just feel like, it's really trifling and backstabbing that the Dolphins would allow that kid to go out there and play. And the player is going to be the player.
Right.
His job is to play.
Right.
So if you tell him you want to play and you tell him you need him to play, then he's going to do his best to play for you.
Any opportunity.
We put our lives on the line every single time. Yeah, we gladiators, man. We gladiators. We're trying to win for you every single time.
Man, it's terrifying, bro. Like, it's really, it's terrifying. I mean, even you just talking about what you were dealing with. It's terrifying because it makes you fear that a team will always do whatever they can to try to avoid, hey, but we just need you out there, man. We got a salary cap and you got to play. We just have to have you. It makes me feel hinky about, dude, I love football. I love it. It is a joy for me to sit down and watch football, but you just can't help it. I woke up Friday morning feeling hinky about it. I'm like, oh God, that was unpleasant for me. I didn't enjoy watching football last night.
Right. Yeah, it's tough, man. To see the Ravens, to see the whole Tua situation, that was, to me, it was really, really disheartening, to think that they would put that kid in jeopardy like that. I didn't even know he was going to play because I knew hands down it was a concussion. 100% of the time when somebody falls backwards like that and their head get jerked like that whiplash motion and the back of their head hit the turf, 100% of the time that's a concussion. I've never seen it be anything other than a concussion. So the fact that they were trying to play it off as a spinal thing when he got up and obviously he was knocked unconscious and he was trying to walk and he was staggering and falling all down, that was prototypical of a head injury. So to come back there next week and put him back in that game underneath that situation is somebody just being extremely greedy, and selfish, not thinking about his future, his career. And it just shows you how much of a business that it is that we're playing in, A lot of people just don't care. That's why the concussion lawsuit is what it is.
Yep.
That's why concussion protocol is what it is. And that's why everybody's suing the NFL, all these older guys like myself, we're out here trying to figure out how to get the money that they owe us, and people don't see like that. People just want their team to play, and they just want their team to win.
Yep.
You become fans of the team and fans of the organization. Players come and go. Every time a player leaves, you miss them, but you don't miss them very long. You on to the next number.
It's true.
And that's how it is. It's your team. It's your team. You fall in love with the team, the franchise, the organization, and whoever comes and play for you, you just pray to God that they're good enough to make you want to come to every game.
Well, I promise you this. I'm always going to love you, bro. I promise you that. There will never be a day where that's not the case. At Coach Wilcox on Twitter is how you follow him. And, again, you guys are going to want to check out Believe in Ravens with Dan and Bo as they break down the loss to the Bills yesterday. Let's do it again a little bit down the road, man. Always appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
No, we got to get a one of these Zoom things, man, with the Zoom podcast thing going on, man.
Let's do it. I will work on that so that we can see each other. I miss bro.
I'm talking about.
You know the affinity we have for you, man. Bro.
Same here.
Man, and we know that because you drove overnight to Miami to come hang out with us on no sleep at the Super Bowl all those years ago. I will never, in a million years, we will never forget the how much you've done for us over the years, dude. We'll make it happen, man. Love you, man. We'll talk soon, all right?
You too, Glenn. Be safe, buddy.
Thanks, bud. Dan Wilcox. Oh, I get the warm fuzzies every time we talk to Dan Wilcox. Every single time we talk to him, I feel the same way. I just love that guy so much, man. One of the best humans we ever came across. Grateful for him. He's still bullish about who the Ravens are. And I get his point, right? Hey, if you just kick the field goal against Dolphins, go up by 3 scores. If you just, I understand what he's saying. I remember talking about, we brought this up with Ed Hoddle when we had him on Friday. At some point, the results kind of define you a little bit. You might not be all that different as a team. I don't know how much different. We were talking about this. Ed Hoddle's the football coach at Stevenson. A year ago, they started the season 0-5. I mean, it was brutal. Some bad luck in there. And they're playing teams that hadn't tried to do a spring semester, where they had tried to play in the spring, and it just got off to a bad start. And I don't know that he feels all that differently about his team right now than he did a year ago. But the results start to change things. Like, you just stockpile some results. We were talking to Steve Suter about it last week too, weren't we? Like, that at some point, just winning does something to you that makes you feel a certain way. If the Ravens had just won those games, they'd be 4-0, and we'd have to talk about them as being one of the best teams in football. Like, they'd probably be the best team in football with wins over the Bills and Dolphins. I don't know what the flip side impact is of that impact. Flip side impact of that is. It's got to be your bull. I don't know how that works. I don't know if the results, even as well as you played in stretches, or even if you deserve to win certain games, but a coach or a coaching decision let you down, which I do think is too simplistic. But I don't know if there's a reverse impact of that. Does that make you feel like you are does that have a lingering impact into next week? Brandon Noble talked about that. Like, does this cause them to be flat? By the way, I don't know why. Unfortunately, our live casino video didn't get up last week, which really sucks because we were awesome.
What were your picks? I was the Raiders.
I ran back the Ravens first quarter. Nailed that.
Yeah, you did.
And nailed it.
Yeah.
And Maryland. Were my
yeah.
I nailed it. We had the best week we've ever had.
Maybe they knew, and they were like, we cannot put this out.
We're going to lose a bunch of money in the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm quite angry about it. I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it at some point, but I need to try to find the video so I can share it out so people understand I'm not making this up. Griffin and I nailed our picks last week on the live casino video that we've done every week for like the last year, and for some reason this one just didn't get posted. I don't know what the story is behind that. We'll try to get to the bottom of it. But I don't even know how I got there. How did I get there? Oh, the first quarter thing. Because Brandon Noble's talking about a hangover. I've bet the Ravens in the first quarter the last 2 weeks, and it's done really well for me. But do I maybe think about not doing that next week?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because...
Or did they come out with so much more fire? Right? Like, I guess it's...
I don't know. I don't have that answer. I think it's slightly too simplistic to say, hey, they'd be 4-0 if not for coaching decisions. Because, again, they still didn't run the ball against Miami. And the defense was dreadful. Dreadful. Now, I get it. That works hand in hand with not running the ball. And the argument that if they just go up 3 scores, well, as Rita pointed out a couple times, like, did you guys see what Miami did? Like, they scored 3 touchdowns. Being up by 7 at that point it would have been 17, right?
Yeah.
It was a 14-point game. They would have gone up by 17. They scored 3 more touchdowns. Being up by 17 wasn't going to help you. Being up, you left. Because didn't they add another field goal ultimately? They did add one more field goal.
Yeah, it was
20 they added. No, I'm talking about the Miami game.
Oh, the Miami game.
Like, her point was, like,
I think after they tied it, they kicked the field
three more
goal.
points. 3 more points would have. Yes, correct. 3 more points would have made it a 17-point game. The Ravens ultimately added 3 more later in the game. Right. Rita's point is, they scored 21.
Yeah.
If you score 20 and they score 21, who wins? Oh. But I still get it. I still understand the argument for kicking the field goal in that situation. All of this to say, this is why I'm confused about trying to define who the Ravens are. And I got to that in my column today at PressBoxOnline.com. They are some combination of all of these things. They're deservedly, to me, 2-2. Because they are a combination of defensive issues. On the postgame show yesterday, Rita was mad that everybody was getting off the defense. She's like, they held the Bills, who scored 30 points a game, to 23 points. If you thought that you could beat the Bills without scoring at least 23 points, you haven't been paying attention. Why are we beating up the defense over this? Why are we pretending like yesterday was on the defense? And she makes a great point. She always does, but like that one's a particularly good point. If you went into yesterday and you said, we're going to hold the Bills to 23 points, that should have been enough. You should have understood that one side of the ball did their job. You've got to get the job done on the other side. That's fair. It's fair. They didn't score at all in the second half. They are a totality of all of these things. They are an imperfect team. Dan Wilcox says he still thinks they're a top 5 team. I think there's an argument that they're a top 10 team that could be a top 5 team. And part of that is just the insane parity in the NFL, right? Like, who's really good? I mean, I get it. The Eagles are good because they're the 4-0 team, right? Like, we're confident they're good. If the Dolphins have Tua, and God, I mean, like, that's the terrifying thought, is that they're definitely going to play him again this week, aren't they? Like, they're definitely going to just say, well, he cleared concussion protocol. What are we supposed to do? Force him to not play? Like, he's definitely going to play again.
There's no way.
Dude, there's 10 days after they played. 10 days.
I don't think
most dudes
somebody's going to step in, right?
That's the only thing is the NFL just saying, dude, it'd be a really bad look. It'd be a really bad look. Please don't play him. But, like, the NFL can't get involved that way. I mean, they have a game. I know that the bye weeks start this week, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still play.
I think they do. I'll double check on it too. I'm pretty sure that they have a game this week. I don't remember.
Yes, they play the Jets.
Like, the NFL is not supposed to get involved in that way and say and choose who plays and who doesn't play in certain games. Maybe bye weeks don't start this week. No bye weeks. Nope. Bye weeks don't start until the following week. I thought they started in week. They started in week 5 last year, and I thought that was early. So I'm glad that
they start at week 4 at one point too.
You might be right about that. Week 6 is the first bye weeks this season. So they're making a team that went to London. I always thought if you went to London, you were supposed to be on bye the following week. I always thought.
I don't know why they don't start doing the Thursday night, like you get a bye and then you play Thursday.
It just becomes impossible, right? Yeah. Like, it becomes, and also then it takes away from the teams wouldn't like that. The players wouldn't like that, because then the teams would try to say, well, we need to get back, on Thursday of the previous week to start putting in more time to get ready for a Thursday night game. You wouldn't get a full bye week, and the players would not be happy about that.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, the moral of the story being, I think the Ravens are a good team, or at least capable of being a good team, but I do think they're a totality of everything that we've seen so far. And that's frustrating because, we want to rest our pillow. We want to head on the pillow and feel comfortable about what the Ravens. Yay, the Ravens are good, or no, the Ravens. We just want to know. We always want answers that we can't have. It's boring. Bad sports radio for me to come on and be like, well, we got to wait. But that's the reality. The reality is we don't have any evidence that's strong enough in any way yet for me to make a loud statement. I think the Ravens are closer to a good team than a bad team. But I get it. Good teams don't blow 2 massive leads at home. I think they're closer to a good team. But it's closer to a good team. I'm not confident that they're a good team. They've got to prove that in the coming weeks. By the way, no rest for the weary. They have a massive game coming up this Sunday night. That will be a huge opportunity, again, for them to try to make a statement about who they are. Hopefully, they get a couple pieces back in order to do that. All right, today's show is also brought to you by Guilford Hall Brewery. That's where we will be tomorrow night for the Tyus Bowser Show. Hope you will come join us. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. Tyus and his special guest will be there. Guilford Hall, it's just such a gem, man. You can't even believe it. Like, you pull up, you're just like, wow, what is this place? This is here? How did I miss this? Open 7 days a week now. They do yappy hours. They do trivia. Still, if you get there during the day, like on a Saturday, there is outdoor seating area as well. We're starting to get into that territory where it's getting tougher. I know this weekend was just miserable in general, but if it's not raining, it's still the pleasant fall feeling that you have when you sit outside. Like, this is great. I don't have any ball sweat going on right now. Like, this is wonderful. So you can take advantage of the outdoor seating they have available. They got multiple indoor spaces as well. You can hang out, watch the games there on Sundays. GuilfordHall.com is the website for you to find out more. Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. When we come back in, we will get a tidbit and tubular to wind things down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens' Greatest Plays. 2021, the game on the line. With 3 seconds left, the Ravens connect on an impossibly long 66-yard field goal to beat Detroit, the longest field goal in history. Another great Ravens play belongs to Touchdown Joe from Silver Spring. Joe scratched a Ravens scratch-off and won a top prize of $100,000. You could be next. Play Ravens scratch-offs to win instant cash or enter to win great second-chance prizes. Please play responsibly.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Adley Rutschman has been voted most valuable Oriole by the local media, and that seems logical, but did any of us have?
I did.
You did. So you get that. You get that
MVO.
point. You get that point. I got to go back and figure out where we are with all of that.
Yeah, I guess.
Because didn't you get another point too?
Yeah, because they had. I had the most wins. I said 78 wins. I think, and then you and Stan both had less.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We were
very down on the Orioles.
Jesus. Look, it's a weird vote for most valuable Oriole, right?
I like that Odor got some votes, some top 3 votes.
So funny. I don't know what to say. There wasn't an overwhelming candidate. I actually thought, honestly, that Anthony Santander
I also thought so too.
Had kind of taken the lead as being the most consistent from 1 to 162. And I don't vote most valuable Oriole. If I did, I would have voted Santander. But I have no problem with Rutschman being the guy in the context of, hey, when he arrived, so did winning. Like, that to me is the easiest way to justify Adley Rutschman being most valuable Oriole. The moment he got here, all of a sudden something else came to, winning. So in defining valuable, hard to argue with that. Like, Anthony Santander was here before that. They didn't win a whole lot. The moment Adley Rutschman got here, they started winning. Was Adley Rutschman overwhelming this season? No, he's 254, 13 home runs, 42 RBI, obviously the 35 double stand out, and that on-base percentage is significant at .361. He was a heck of a player this season. And if this is just the beginning, like if it gets better from here, holy crap. Like Katie bar the door. It's going to be amazing. If this is who he is for the rest of his career, he's still a hell of a player and probably going to be one of the best catchers in baseball every year. But, Matt Wieters was that guy. I hate doing that. I hate saying that. I don't want to say it. What's Anthony Santander's WAR this season? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. I can find out quickly.
I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Using Baseball Reference WAR, Adley Rutschman is a 5.2 WAR player, and Anthony Santander is a 2.1 WAR player. So,
all right,
yeah. There you go. There you go. Adley Rutschman named Most Valuable Oriole. Today's show also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, the best place to watch and bet on every game. You know how much I love it in the FanDuel Sportsbook. And the atmosphere is like second to none. When you watch big games, especially like this week, it's Sunday night for the Ravens. Imagine if you're not going to the game, that's where you are. It's going to be electric. Because not only do you have fans of the team, but then you have people that are fans of something that they bet on, and so they are living and dying on every play. It's such a cool place to hang out and watch the games. The bet pads are available. You want to reserve your spot to hang out at the FanDuel Sportsbook, email events@sportssocialmd.com to be in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Somebody said something to me that I wanted to respond to, and Northern Flock, Harbaugh lets his players speak their mind and doesn't condemn them for it. Peters has earned his respect and the privilege to get heated once in a while if he feels strongly about what benefits the team. He loves it here, and although he cannot do this stuff often, it's really no big deal. I mostly think I agree with that. Mostly. Again, I think what Brandon Noble told us is really significant because I had not seen the thing where Marcus Peters was running down the sideline. Like, I'm sure now if I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh, right, there it is. I had not seen that. Now, Dan Wilcox made the point that, like, yeah, it's a concern. Like, it's a concern if players are not on board with decisions that have been made by the coaches or they feel like they've been let down and they've lost games specifically because of the coaches. And it goes back to what I said. John Harbaugh today, whatever he says in a press conference, I hope it's not just analytics. The more important thing is what does he say in talking to the guys? And if he's willing to say to them, like, you know what? We might have gotten that one wrong. Might have screwed up there. And you know what, Marcus? You might be right. And I'm sorry. And we're not going to do that again. We're going to listen to you. Like, if that's all that happens, I think I don't have any reason to think that, like, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was my buddy Franchise who called into the postgame yesterday. He was using the word mutiny in describing it. Like, we're getting out of control. Like, and he was like, this is the legal definition of the word mutiny, and it fits. I'm like, all right, Chief. We're losing our minds a little bit here. And I get it. Everybody hates losing. Nobody handles losses well. It sucks when your team loses. But we got to get things under control. For the most part, that's the way that I feel. I don't feel like this is proof of a fractured locker room. I don't feel like this is proof of anything bigger than just an emotional situation in one game and Marcus Peters being an emotional player. And to Northern Flock's point, I think Marcus Peters has earned the right to be emotional. And for us to not come down on him, I think that John Harbaugh has an obligation to listen and to understand why someone, a veteran, would be that emotional in that situation. I think all of those things, I'm more on Marcus Peters' side than I am on John Harbaugh's side because I agree with Marcus Peters' take on the situation. It's the wrong thing to do. As long as that's where it ends, as long as both parties can move forward and everybody's good, I don't worry too much about there being a lingering impact of this. Tidbit brought to you today by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Reserve yours right now, ginsugrills.com. Use the code TAILGATE when you do, and you will save $100. The all-new Ginsu Kamado grill is the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill for searing, grilling, baking, and smoking all kinds of food. And I know we missed the one yesterday because of the weather, but back in action on Sunday. Are you back out there Sunday night? Are you?
I
are you doing yours?
I'm not sure.
I don't. It's not my department. I was asking the question.
Well, it's John's department.
It's not my area.
If we'll see. I guess.
So you don't know.
I don't know.
That would be the appropriate way. I am not. This is not my area.
Someone's gonna be there though, to be giving you sauce.
Someone will be at Hammerjacks, where mothers will be hosting their tailgate on Sunday night ahead of the game. Stop by. It's free to get in, but you get the all-inclusive option, $49 with premium brand open bar and great food. Tickets at hammerjacks.com and the Pressbox Ginsu Grills tent, where you can see the Ginsu grill in action, try some delicious sausage, and register to win your own Ginsu Kamado grill and $500 worth of grilling meats. We're going to pull a winner for that at the end of October. Tidbit.
All right, so Adley Rutschman became the third Orioles rookie to receive the MVO, Most Valuable Oriole honors, joining who?
Greg Olson.
Yeah, Greg Olson in 1989. 2002, this rookie.
That's not who I was thinking it was. Then.
Who were you thinking?
2002. 2002. It's, you know what? Nope, I saw it. It's Rodrigo Lopez.
Yes, it is Rodrigo Lopez.
Never mind. I'm sorry. I saw
from Nathan Ruiz.
Yeah.
This is from Nathan Ruiz.
I did.
Just wanted to throw that out there. And then also, this one is for career home runs on a Monday, because Albert Pujols is chasing history once again today, as he is he's currently third on the all-time list of home runs hit on a Monday. With
big
78.
Now, this baseball, of course, would be worth?
I don't know.
$78.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to hit 3 home runs tonight in order to get a share of the record and join these two guys who currently have the most home runs hit on a Monday. And then I wanted to go ahead and see if you could name the
not a chance
rest of the guys that have hit at least 70. We'll say.
For God's sakes,
at least
man.
70.
Come on, really?
Yeah, why not?
Bonds.
Barry Bonds tied for first with
Mays.
Not Willie Mays.
Aaron.
Willie Mays only 68 homers on a Monday.
Bum.
Hank Aaron is high up there, but he does not have more than 70.
Ruth.
Yes, tied for first. Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth have 81 home runs hit on a Monday. Albert Pujols has 78, so he'll need 3 tonight. Maybe 4 if he wants to break the record. Break the record. This is the real record that everyone's paying attention to today.
So dumb.
3 more guys have hit at least 70.
Might be trying to get guesses in.
Okay.
No, his guess was Aaron too. He said Hank, the Monday Mauler Aaron. I don't believe
I think that was one of his nicknames.
I don't think
he
that's
hit,
true.
58. He hit
Griffin,
58.
I don't think that's the case.
Tied with Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz has 58.
How about Frank Robinson?
Frank Robinson is an excellent guess. Frank Thomas has 69.
That's not who I guessed. I guessed
Frank
Frank Robinson. How about Eddie Murray?
Not Eddie Murray.
So it's.
I guess I should have done Orioles Monday homers.
Yeah, maybe that would have been.
I
don't know. I don't have all day. God, Manny Ramirez.
Not Manny Ramirez.
Ken Griffey.
There you go. Ken Griffey hit 74, I believe. Eddie Murray hit 42. He's the second most of an Oriole.
Proctor says Alex Rodriguez.
Alex Rodriguez also has hit 70. Figure out how many. I clicked out of it. 72.
How many more do I need to get?
There's one more guy. He was
Jim Thome.
Jim Thome is a good guess, but he did not hit 70.
Sammy Sosa.
Not Sammy Sosa, also another strong guess. This guy was a Phillies infielder.
Phillies infielder. Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt hit 71 home runs on a Monday. That rounds out the top 6. And then Cal Ripken hit the most.
I believe it's Carl Ripken. Please get that correct if you don't mind.
Carl Ripken.
Yes. All right, very good. Tubular brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star. Come see Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars. Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Rams and 49ers wrap up NFL Week 4 tonight. I need George Kittle to, unfortunately, get like dysentery or something right before the game.
I think I need.
Who was the dude
who
took the cart back to the bathroom yesterday?
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. I need there to be no cart available for George Kittle. I need for him to have to do the waddle, the whole Lamar. By the way, Lamar Jackson is still holding on to the cramps thing. Did you see that? Did you see?
Well, we got to
Twitter?
wait for him to retire, like Paul Pierce did, and then he'll finally say, "Yeah, I just had."
Admittedly, I had doo-doo, but yeah.
So I need. Oh, jeez, I have no shot tonight.
He legitimately hopped on Twitter last night because Will Blackman retweeted. DK Metcalf said that clinch walk wouldn't have made it. We've all been there. We've all started doing that math in our head. Are we going to get there or not? What is about to happen? Will Blackman retweeted it and said, "We just need Lamar Jackson to admit his run to the restroom last season." It was actually 2 years ago. To which Lamar followed up by saying, still, said, cramps. If I had to poop emoji, I would have did just that. What do you mean you would have did just that? That's what we think you did. Or, is he saying if it was poop, he thinks he would have taken the cart back? I'm trying to read into the tweet now. Is he suggesting that if he had to poop, you know what, by the way, this is going to come up on the Tyus Bowser show tomorrow night. You got to poop in a game. Are you taking the cart back? Allegedly,
well, the Ravens.
Allegedly, the Lions situation is like the farthest walk in the entire NFL. That it's the furthest distance you'd have to traverse to get back to the bathroom in the NFL. So that allegedly is the reasoning for why DK Metcalf hopped on the cart yesterday. Don't know.
I mean, still might as well just do it every time.
We'll get to the bottom of that. We will. I'm going to pose that question to Tyus Bowser. You've got to poo in a football game. Are you taking the cart? Are you? I guess it wouldn't work because the Ravens, you had to take the stairs.
Yeah, so that's what
So you couldn't take a cart.
I mean, we'll sit. Let's.
By the way, is there anything worse than having to take the stairs when you need to poop? Oh God, you got to waddle down the stairs. Oh, what a nightmare!
Well, at least no one can really see you.
You're definitely holding the railing as you do it. I guarantee you. You are. If you are, when in that moment you got to poo, you're doing the clinch walk. You are holding onto the rail as you're going down the stairs. Oh, what a nightmare that is.
Well, like you can throw out the situation that they're in Detroit or Cleveland or someone with a longer walk.
At what point do they set up because at this point you can go into the tent and pee on the sideline now, right? Like they've kind of At what point do they just put a porta potty on the sideline? At what point do they just figure out a way to put a damn porta potty over there so that guy?
Then everybody knows that they're gonna have a camera on the porta potty the whole time. So you'll be like, someone just went in.
They would do it discreetly, like they would put a tent over the porta potty, like they would do something.
Then the people in the front row won't be able to see over the tent.
Well, they wouldn't be able to make it a full size porta potty. They'd have to come up with a custom porta potty,
like a little tunnel you crawl in. Almost
something, or just a little, like the way that they do the concussion tent. Like they come up with something
just pops up
that is the right size, and everybody knows, but we don't see it. Like that.
I feel like guys would probably still rather just go back to the locker room.
Probably right. I got a lot of questions. It's very important. The hell am I? Oh yeah, Rams 49ers. It's on ESPN.
I need like 90 points from George Kittle. So
boy, we are.
Yeah.
Why don't you just accept the fact that it can't happen? And we agree to root for me. Like one of us can be happy. Like, why don't we agree to root for that scenario? Yeah, I need him to get the dysentery tonight and be unavailable for the game against the Rams. That's at 8:15. No ABC any longer. I guess that was just a 2-week thing.
Because it's the new time slot premiere for Bachelor in Paradise.
Ah, well, you can't miss that. You can't miss that. ESPN, and I guess ESPN2 means there's a Manning's broadcast.
There is, yeah.
I guess that's the case. Masson 2, Blue Jays, Orioles at 7 o'clock. Jose Barrios and Dean Kramer, the pitching matchup. Masson's got Nationals, Mets at 7. Aaron Judge continues his pursuit of history. Tonight at 7 against the Rangers on NMLB Network. They also have Rockies, Dodgers at 10. USA Network, Leicester and Nottingham Forest at 3 o'clock. Preseason hoops and hockey on NBA TV and NHL Network. And the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
Just Bachelor in Paradise. Justin Thomas is going to be on Jimmy Fallon for
Justin Thomas.
For some reason, the golfer.
The golfer?
Yeah. I don't know why.
What?
New episode of Kevin Can F Himself.
I do like that show.
And then the rest is on there. I did see, while we were talking about Aaron Judge, that he's not going to hit 63 because the only guys that have ever hit 63 have the same initial for their first and last name. Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire. AJ, he's not going to do it. So he might hit 62, but he's not going to touch 63.
At some point, the Yankees pay off one of the Rangers pitchers to groove one to him, right? Or somebody does. Like whether it's the Yankees or not, like a sponsor. I'm not trying to be tinfoil hat, but like, come on, the Rangers don't have anything to play for, correct?
No.
So at somebody this week, like a partner, somebody who would stand to benefit from selling Aaron Judge gear, approaches the Rangers. I don't know who's pitching for the Rangers tonight. I don't know who was pitching for the Yankees yesterday. Who the F is Chichi Gonzalez? Where
he came from?
I thought it was Chichi Rodriguez, and he was a golfer. I thought that was. I don't know. I'm very confused.
Did he come from
by
Colorado?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay.
But whoever's pitching for the Rangers tonight, they say ahead of the game, like, dude, come on, $10,000.
Martin Perez.
They go to Martin Perez. They say $10,000. Groove him one.
He's having a good season.
Let's get this over with. It's one home run. Who cares? Like, let's just get this over with already.
Oh, they got a doubleheader on Tuesday. The Yankees and Rangers do, so a couple opportunities.
No, and they have like they're going all in. They're batting him lead off.
Yeah.
Like they're doing everything they can. Like it's such a joke, but whatever. That's fine. How dare the Orioles not just leave one in the middle of the plate? It's so embarrassing. God, it was so embarrassing. Everybody losing their minds this weekend.
Good to see Jim Palmer and Ben McDonald coming after him. Everybody,
because it's idiocy. It's pure idiocy. Like what in the world? It's the responsibility of the Orioles to groove one. Like that's the responsibility. Also interesting that the pursuit of the record is kind of costing him the batting title and the Triple Crown because he feels
down in RBIs now. Or
no, he's down in batting average because
he
feels the need to swing, right? Because he's striking out more. And that's brought his batting average down, and he's no longer in a Triple Crown position.
Luis Arraez has batting .315 of the Twins.
I mean,
it's funny.
Like
that is funny.
It's just
Judge is all the way down to 311. Judges.
It's very interesting that like this year where he was going to win the Triple Crown and break the record, now the pursuit of the record is going to cost him the Triple Crown, which like record, you know what I mean? It's not even a real record. Like, winning the Triple Crown is so much more significant than being the guy that hit the most home runs in Yankees history. Like, God, the American League. Come on, man. What are we doing? All right, that's that. Thanks today to Brandon Noble. Thanks also to Dan Wilcox. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
Stuff and things.
Stuff and things. Big Stuff and Things Day. Of course, we'll we'll talk about Waiver Wire Wednesday with our buddy Joe Serpico, and we'll do Simply the Bets and Stuff and Things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland Lottery, the Baltimore County Police Department, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Casa Sin, Guilford Hall Brewery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the Maryland 5-Star, FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. It's still go Birds. Why not? Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.